everyone you wanted a CB, and it was such this cool thing. So my dad got one, and he would try and get on there and talk to these. He gave himself a handle.
Well, what was his handle?
The Pink Panther.
Really?
Because he was driving at the time a pink Lincoln Mark V.
Okay.
Now, he insisted to everyone else it was not pink, it was rose diamond.
No.
But as a Yellow Page salesman, he was always of the belief he had to show up in a really good-looking car.
How old was he when he bought this pink car?
40.
Okay.
Okay?
My grandfather used to drive a pink Lincoln Continental when I was a kid.
Yeah. So he would drive around.
Did he wear a pinky ring?
No, he didn't.
Jewish guy with a pink Continental? He didn't wear a pinky ring?
Nope.
All right.
Yeah.
He would drive.
My father-in-law does.
Almost played the type, but not quite.
My father-in-law's got a big gold pinky ring.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice. He would spot like, a cop in like suburban Detroit, just like, at a gas station. He get on. He said, "Yeah, this is Pink Panther. I see a Kojak with a Kodak sitting with his ass in the grass, sitting at 18 Mile Road and Updike comeback."
Oh, man.
Like, no, he wasn't. Okay, Dad, he wasn't a radar cop. He wasn't down in a ditch, so he didn't have his ass in the grass. He's literally getting gas. Shut up. I gotta know they're out there. Like, to guys who are driving around the surface streets, this is really more for the highway long-haul truckers.
Yeah, they have the radio for people that want to know the traffic.
I don't think you're doing a service to your fellow CBers out there, because you're the only one who's driving a Lincoln Mark V who happens to be, just running to Kroger's to pick up some beans. Everyone else is doing a job while they're
out
driving.
of beans at the food shack. They're out of fart makers at the food shack. Come on, back.
Yeah, come on back. Oh.
Yeah, it was that Josh Brolin book. Like, his mom would be on the CB in California and then go to like truck stops and bang dudes that she met on the CB. Yeah, she was an odd woman apparently.
So this is my next purchase, by the way. Not a CB, but this is completely on brand for me. And I'm very excited to share this with you once I get it. I'm going to get a police and emergency scanner.
Well, that's not hard to get.
No. Believe me,
I have one. I have a radio.
What?
I have one. I have a radio that has a police scanner as part of it. Like, yeah, I see your eyes.
Well,
it has a bunch of frequencies, and one of them is a police scanner.
Okay.
And by the way, you can get an app that's a police scanner too, and it has every city in the country.
not the same. This one is a walkie-talkie.
Oh, you can talk to the police.
No, but it's like a walkie-talkie size thing, and I do have visions of like seeing some lights in the distance and then just grabbing that thing off my belt as I'm sitting on the couch watching Jeopardy and, flipping it on to see what's what.
Sure.
It's not the same if you can pull up an app on your phone. I've tried that. It doesn't get my juices going.
It's pretty fun to like pull up East Detroit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like it's pretty funny.
What are some other cities that you could get a lot of chat out of?
Oh my God.
Baltimore, Memphis,
New Orleans.
New Orleans would be key,
Dude,
especially at this time of year.
There's a million free police scanner apps. Like it's pretty interesting. Like I got one like before. Like you'll spend not a lot of time on it, but it is pretty interesting. It's not the one on the radio is not good because it's just like around here. Yeah, like let me see if I can do this. All right, stop.
Well, both police scanner apps and actual scanners allow you to listen to radio communications from law enforcement and emergency services. Apps rely on internet-based feeds, while scanners directly receive radio signals, offering more coverage and control, but at a higher cost. At what cost, Wallach? At what cost? $119 from when I was looking at on Amazon. I tell you what the cost is.
You just need something tactile to hold. I understand.
Oh, bless you. Oh, my goodness.
Bless you. Whoa.
Holy crap.
Oh,
That was like
AIDS.
a cat.
I mean, this AIDS is really...
3 or 4 quick ones in a row there.
All right. I'm going to give you Detroit Police Dispatch as soon as this ad is over.
Okay. I'm going to pull up the police scanner I'm looking at. Which,
Oh, thank God.
all right.
119, you said?
I got to search the exact same thing to find the same thing.
I
was looking
understand.
for.
And you just want to know what's going on. You're not going to run out to the scene of a crash or anything. You just want to see what's happening.
Okay, a unit in Bearcat, BC 12. Oh. Oh. What city is this?
Detroit.
Boy, that's early still.
I appreciate you.
Oh.
Yeah, something bad's happening.
That was something that was. I like the informality at the end of that.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. No problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Double Bubble? Appreciate you.
Hi,
Return
Greg.
for all shifts. 6110 Benton Street is on fear of return. Special attention for fear of return for all shifts.
Okay.
Yeah, you like
What
that?
does that mean?
I don't know, but I like it.
Well,
Okay.
I'm going to have to get a copy of the codes
You
for
don't
my
know what- you don't know
local
what that means?
municipalities.
I understand.
A 611, I do not.
611. Oh.
I mean, let's find out. 611 police code in Detroit. What kind of call was that?
What does it say?
Well, 10611
Okay.
is impersonating a police officer. I mean, he didn't say 10611.
Maybe it's 611 for short.
Yeah. So, I'm looking at one right now. The unit in Bearcat, BC 125 AT, handheld scanner, 500 alpha tag channels, close call technology, PC programmable, aviation, marine railroad, NASCAR racing. You can do all kinds of stuff. $118.77. I can have it today.
Why don't you?
Appreciate you.
There's a lot of appreciation.
Happy guy.
Not as much as I appreciate you guys, she says.
Oh.
Oh, shucks.
Whoa.
We're okay putting this on the air, aren't we?
Why not? It's on an app.
Yeah,
Yeah, they can't be against the law.
I wouldn't think so.
Huh.
Now they're just having sex.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
This is how it starts.
Anyway,
My
yeah, because if you go to NASCAR races, they have all the. You're supposed to bring a. I've always found this fascinating. You're supposed to bring like a shortwave radio or like a CB kind of, and I guess it's a C, whatever the same technology as CB, and they have the different codes you load in before you go. So before you go, they'll give you a list of the frequencies the guys are on, so you can pick which cars you want to listen to. And then there's of course what I used to run in Cumming, Georgia, which is the what is it, like Motorsports Network or whatever it is, and that's just the play-by-play,
Right.
which is the radio play-by-play of NASCAR, especially qualifying, is intense. Let's just say that it's intense. It's
Oh, man.
I mean, that's where I developed my love for the game, is sitting in Cumming, Georgia, and playing NASCAR qualifying.
I
while
had
sat
to do
there.
the same thing for Daytona. My station, the one you referenced in Providence when I was younger, did Wimbledon play-by-play for the final and the Daytona 500. They had a guy at each turn,
Yeah.
describing this thing.
Yeah.
It was really something.
Yeah, it was super boring, but the good news is we didn't sell any advertising for it, so I literally had nothing to do, so I would just.
Did we back then? No one was like, "I'm not sponsoring that." Why?
No,
God,
they
would I
had their own
sponsor that?
advertising, but like in terms of local advertising,
Right, that was the point. I had nothing
we
to
had-
do.
we had nothing to do-
Sat there
nothing
for
to do.
3 hours. I had nothing to do.
no. And then I would do. I'd give something away, and no one would call in. That happened as well, quite a few times. I appreciate you, not as much as I appreciate you.
yeah, I don't know what all that means.
You
That's how
okay
things
over
are
there?
done. That's the new Detroit.
Yeah. You all right over there? You still gazing at that thing?
Well, you know what? You made a good point, Wallach. When I said I could have it today, and you said, "Why don't you?"
Yeah. Why don't you?
Well, I'm thinking what I'll do instead is my wife did ask me what I want for my birthday, which is coming up gentlemen.
When is it?
23 days from now.
Okay.
If I tell her I want this, maybe she'll get off this cockamamie idea of going somewhere on June 21st, and she'll just get me this scanner
still
instead.
no movement on that. Can't crack the code.
Did you
Have no
ask her if
idea.
it was the golf tournament in Detroit?
She said no. And she said
That means
it
it is.
She said it would be a nice idea. No, that's not.
Yeah, I saw this when I was looking at this particular app. Carrie, go ahead.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. How's everybody doing?
What's up, Carrie?
Hey, so, Hardy, I'm sure you're going to love this. I work for the railroad, a local railroad here, and we have radios in all our equipment, and we can hear transmissions from all of the different railroads all over the place, and there's a lot of talking on the radio. You know, a lot of crew transmissions. It's pretty exciting.
Ooh, are you talking like coupling and uncoupling stuff? Or what are you talking about on that thing?
Oh, right on. Yeah, you got it. You got it. Because, the engineer and the conductor, I mean, when they're making moves, in the yard, they have to, communicate, how close the trains are to coupling. So you got like a countdown. It's thrilling.
Was there any chatter on that thing about the not one but two cars who got hit in 2 days in a row in Canton? I believe on the same tracks about a mile apart from each other. Were you guys chatting about that?
No, I didn't hear about that. That must have been CSX.
How often do you hear about a train hitting a car, like in a residential street? It happened 2 days in a row, where I don't know I don't know how people manage to get themselves hit by a train, but it not only happened, but back-to-back days.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. Well, we.
This is the railroad. This is Boston Metro West Railroads.
An assumption like that would be correct. You're going to track 3, Daddy. Spare will be going to 4.
Okay.
This is something else.
I might have.
You could be like one of those lunatics that runs around looking at trains.
Yeah, what's delayed?
No. Like the guy, I forget what it's called, but Adam, do you know this? It's free.
Yeah, it's called rail fanning.
Rail fanning.
Yeah.
Like it's free. And so,
so 12 knew exactly what it was.
So you go out
They're
to the
free hobby.
You go kids. A lot of times, kids like trains.
It's a big. I mean, there's obviously adults that do it, but it's really for kids that love trains and
Right, but when you see adults do it, it's something else. Like they'll go back and they'll be a lot like Hardy at a construction site. They'll have their hands behind their backs, waiting for the train, and then when the train comes by,
they're stoked.
They'll get real stoked.
Sometimes get a little. Beep.
I don't know where this is coming from. Dennis, go ahead. Dennis,
do you think you're a narcissist?
You can tell me, just give me context of why you think so.
Well, Hardy has this great little story about his father and the Pink Panther, and you just immediately turn it back to yourself and, some CB radio, what do you think?
He said that he wanted to buy a scanner, so I said you can get them on your phone, so I pulled one up on my phone to show him what it sounded like.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like if that was your father riding around in a pink truck, it would have been a lot more content.
He said, I'm looking to buy a scanner. I said you can get them on your phone. He said it was not the same. So I pulled one up on my phone and played the scanner into the thing.
And the one thing I'll say is, please don't give my dad more credit than he deserves. It was not a truck. It was he was driving a Mark.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. It was a Mark IV or a Mark V. It was the last car in the world that needed or deserved a CB radio, or the person driving it to be communicating on it. Yeah, well,
Yeah, I might very well might be a narcissist, but Hardy was done with the father part and was talking about how he wanted to buy a police scanner.
Yeah.
We were off the CB topic.
I think we were onto the scanner.
We were onto the scanner, so I was actually trying to help.
Should I just pull the trigger on this thing?
Yes, you should.
It'll be here today between 2 and 4.
Yes.
Do you know who would honestly like it even more than me? My nosy wife. When there are like lights going by, she's like, "Oh, I wonder what that is." I could tell her. I could get on the radio. I could have it sitting right there in front of me.
This is a perfect family gift.
Well, according to Nate, there are downsides. Nate, go ahead.
Hey, what's up? Howdy, it's Nate, Greenskeeper Nate. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Nate, how are you?
I'm good. Ready to open up the course on Monday. I'm psyched. But
Yeah, I'm
anyway,
gonna go
I
to
live
the
in
course.
Bridgewater.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Nate.
I live in Bridgewater, which obviously isn't too far from Canton, and we have the same exact issues, dude. The arm that goes down at the train tracks. I live right by Bridgewater State College, and there's a train station right there.
Do you
And
like philosophy?
Don't.
Come on, cut it
Go
out.
ahead. All right, go ahead.
I knew where that was going. But yeah, the arm in the safety system malfunctions at least 3 times a week, and we've had probably 2 or 3 cars that have either driven into the train or have been hit by the train in the last year or so. So it's definitely an issue. I think it's an issue everywhere. This train station that we have in the state just sucks. I think that's just the bottom line.
Well, if that's the case, I would think these people who got hit by the trains are going to own the railroad. I mean, if the arms go down 2 days in a row, or if the arms fail 2 days in a row. But there's like train tracks. I never see any trains on either one of these things. One of them is where I walk my dog, pretty close to it. And it's like, oh, I look at those tracks. I'm like, there's never any train on this thing. I don't even know what it's for.
Yeah, why don't you have some drinks and lay down on them tracks?
Why don't you beat me to it? Yeah, that's right. I want you to go get hit by a train.
Well, that was what I wanted you to do.
But I really want it.
You probably would.
What?
Then all this could be your.
Some of these are two-way radios. I don't think I want.
No, you don't
I
want
don't
that.
want the two-way because I do not want even the slightest ability.
I
Or
will
get
opening.
involved. No, you just got to listen.
I will
Way
tell
too
you this.
tempting for Hardy.
You just got to listen. You can't get involved. That's a whole new thing.
You're going to spend about 10 minutes with this thing, and then it's going to go somewhere that you're never going to use it again. That even for you, I can assure you, buy it. Why not? I can't be expensive. Just buy it. But I'm just telling you.
If I had the other $20 you owed me, I would buy it right now. Still got the $6 on you from yesterday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get cash yesterday. I'm sorry. I can Apple Cash you. I can send you Apple Cash. Do you have an Apple Cash account?
No.
You don't?
I probably do.
You want? I'll send it right now.
I don't want it.
I'll send it during the break. All right, we'll be back. What a night of sports in the city last night. We will have that for you in just a moment.
You're listening.
our winter sports teams played, and what a night. You tell me what happened last night, though. I'll tell you is brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happened. So change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lepresti at 1-800-GET-HAIR. Hardy, you dealer's choice, baby. You do what you want to do.
Oh, let's start with those Bruins, okay? Because they're in that raucous atmosphere down there in Raleigh, North Carolina, taking on the Hurricanes. And look, they're dealing with stuff right now, okay? The Bruins are. And there's a lot of hand-wringing over the trade deadline, and Wallach has already told us once this morning what's going on in terms of the moves with the team, and we'll get to that. But in terms of the actual game, how would that start for the Bruins last night?
Mason Lohrei starting from the Bruins' own zone and has it knocked off his stick by Aho, who gets around Pastrnak, moves in, and scores! Sebastian Aho with the backhander. Short-handed goal for Carolina, and they grab a 1-0 lead.
He's just trying to get the puck out of his own zone, gets his pocket picked, and it's a breakaway the other way. Bam, 1-0. Mason Lohrei.
Take it easy.
I keep hearing how good Lohrei is.
No, he's really fun to watch offensively.
Yeah, once he gets inside the opponent's blue line, he's lights out.
Yeah,
but the other two zones are a problem.
No one's hardly ever accused Lohrei of being a defenseman. No, he's just
which is a shame.
Yeah, when he's in the offensive zone and he's got the puck on his stick, he can do he can dangle it and everything else. He's all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah,
gotta get it there first.
Yeah, asking him to play defense is a tall order.
It's 1-0 thanks to that Aho goal. Morgan Geekie would make it 1-1 before the Panthers score again, and it's looking like it's going to be a 2-1 loss, maybe a 3-1 loss. But lo and behold, who stepped up again?
Zaka peels it back in deep. Chetkov again active out of the net. Get back there after that puck. Deep, a drive blocked by Slavin. Came to Pastrnak. A chance in front, score! And it's Geekie again. Ties the game at 2.
All right, so now we've got a hockey game, and I'm thinking, you know what? They may show a little life. Not quite a dead cat bounce, but they're showing some life in a building that's tough to play in by many accounts. Not mine. I think it's overrated.
Be careful.
People are going to start calling. That's right.
Bless your heart.
Stuff will be written about you.
I hope
people are going to wag their fingers at you.
I hope you blow up in a horrible accident. Bless your heart.
Bless your heart. And look, they've got a chance at this thing. Carolina not going away late in the third period.
Ball shot, score!
The Bruins challenging it?
Looks like they might be challenging for offside.
Boston's challenging the play to see if the play was offside prior to the goal.
I think Carolina knows it's going to be offside.
It's determined number 96 Carolina was offside at the 1:37 mark. Therefore, we have no goal.
It took them maybe 30 seconds to review that. That was pretty obvious.
It was you know what? You can tell from the body language of the players. You could tell from the Carolina players sitting on the bench like, no, this isn't a goal.
So Fred, goal overturned, stays tied at 2, about a minute to go. We're going overtime.
Yeah.
And you didn't think that. There's no way you thought that. Well, and I'm not even being cute. Like, you knew they were going to lose.
It was a minute left.
I was at the Toronto game where they were up 3-0, and then when it was 3-2, I knew they were going to lose, and I knew they was going to get tied, and then I knew they were going to lose in overtime.
Fred, only a minute to go. What could possibly go wrong?
At the very least,
I could break a stick.
I thought there.
At the Boston blue line, Tufte going to back it up to Lindholm. 22 seconds left, and a giveaway right in front of the net. They score. Zadorov's stick broke. And Seth Jarvis takes advantage. Carolina has the lead with 18.6 to go.
I'm not pitting one play-by-play guy on another, but credit to RJ, who in the immediate aftermath of that goal called the Zadorov stick break. Whereas last night on TV, I was like, did his stick break? And I was thinking about it and wondering out loud to myself, and it took. Until the replay, until it got brought up. But RJ had it immediately, and there you go. 3-2 the final there from Carolina.
A new and fascinating way to lose a game. That's 27 times the Bruins have given up a goal in the final 2 minutes of a period. Actually, they gave up 2 last night. One was overturned, but still,
Wow.
27 times this season they've given up a goal in the final 2 minutes.
I pushed back on that earlier when John and I were just in here talking. I said it's really 28, but that was offside. That was a good call.
Yeah.
That giveaway though, and they were debating it last night in a very morose post-game show. And Jaffe couldn't even be bothered to put his tie up all the way. He's kind of leaning back. He's like, I don't know, man. It's a bad
he's
beat.
giving up.
They know no one's watching them.
Well, he said like that sucks, but they were debating as to whether or not Zadorov should have made that pass, out in front of his goalie. I'm like, there's 30 seconds left, and he had a guy. I don't blame Zadorov for it. I really don't.
It's just the way things have
I think
gone.
the pass was going to be solid. The stick. Now he didn't break it on that pass. The stick was obviously broken and ready to splinter.
Yeah.
From something else that happened, but. Oh, well. 8 of their last 9 now, Wallach?
8 out of 9. Yep.
Oh.
28 and 28. I think with 5 overtime losses. Let's see. 8 overtime losses. 28, 28, and 8.
And you are hearing, as well, I'm sure we'll get to a couple times this show, that it does look like Marchand's moving.
TSN in Canada reported last night, well, it was early yesterday afternoon, that the Bruins weren't saying no anymore to trade calls. And then TSN in Canada was reported that the belief around the league is Marchand is going to get traded to a Western Conference team. And we've talked a lot about Colorado and Vegas being involved.
But
and
Edmonton,
yeah, Colorado and Vegas being involved. But as you said, it looks like Edmonton's getting into it also. They're dealing him. There's too much smoke around this.
Well, if there's 3 teams vying to get him,
and
there's going to be a good return.
You see the return. I mean, defensemen like the defenseman I've never heard of got a first-round pick last night. I'm telling you, you're going to get a first-round pick plus at least 1 or 2 other things from Marchand, and that's a deal you make 10 times out of 10 if you're this team.
I really do think they're going to make it. I think that there's too much smoke. I mean, I don't think that those guys on – I mean, these are the guys on TSN that are the hockey trade guys. Like, they're not – this isn't some dude on a podcast, going, Ugh. Like, I truly believe they're moving them. And if there's 3 teams – still involved, the price is going to get super high until they can't say no.
Bruins made a small trade last night. They traded Justin Brazeau to Minnesota, but they got 2 bottom 6 centers that can play right now and a draft pick for Justin Brazeau. It is absolutely a seller's market. They're going to get a lot from Marchand. I mean, give Don Sweeney a little bit of credit. I mean, he's gotten good return on 2 guys that are throwaways.
I will.
Good for him.
Look, that was a concern because he hasn't done it. And, he was even saying in press conferences, my competitive nature makes it so I don't want to, do these things. They know. And the team did him a big favor by not winning this whole time.
Yeah, no, the choice is clear within the last 2 weeks.
Right.
He needs to do, and he's gone ahead and done it. So, and we'll see what kind of return he gets from Marchand today, but I would expect it to be significant.
Yeah, it's going to be like when they traded Kessel or when they, this is going to be one of those. I mean, this is the kind of thing that could reboot the organization. I mean, it's the kind of thing that can get everything started and get this turnaround happening.
One other positive thing that kind of gets overlooked because the Bruins are such a bad team. Morgan Geeky's playing really well.
22 goals this season.
Yeah, I mean, and this is out of nowhere. This guy was a checking line center in Seattle and has slowly gotten better. Second best offensive player that the Bruins have next to Pastrnak. He's played real well this season.
Yeah, Geeky, you would hope that this is sustainable. I mean, if he's like a 25-goal guy, I mean, that's pretty good.
I'll take it.
I would take it, too, on a team that can't score and a team that might not have Marchand and can't score. So, I mean, just look at the lineup last night, though. I mean, I defy you to tell me who everyone on that team
There were
was.
4, and I think I sent this to you guys. There were at least 4 or 5 guys that would not dress for a decent NHL team at practice the other day.
Well,
guys like Vinny Lettieri and Ian Mitchell, and I mean, there are guys out there that shouldn't be out there for any NHL team.
Okay, so we watch, I would say, more Bruins hockey than 99% of people. Now, are we completely focused on the thing, all the time? No. But I would say that more than 99 average people, we watch more Bruins games. There were guys on the ice last night. I had no idea who they are.
All right. You have Brown, Tufte, Lettieri, Ian Mitchell. Those are 4 guys that dressed for you and got minutes last night.
Yes.
And none of them should be wearing a Bruins uniform.
And I could tell you nothing about any of them. So there you go. I mean, what do you want me to do? I can't tell you about them.
Yeah, Tufte was your second line left wing. I mean,
right. And I don't even remember Tufte being in Providence. He's no one that they ever talked about. I don't know who Tufte is.
Yeah, he was with them during the preseason. That I remember.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, then more than 99.99% of people, because I have no shame in telling you I don't know who the hell Tufte is.
Well, Ian Mitchell just turned 26, 2 days after your birthday, Fred. He's
I wonder if he got nothing, too. It felt so alone.
This is his first season. He's from St. Albert, Alberta. And St. Albert, Alberta. What is AB?
Alberta.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you know a lot. You seem to know a lot about him.
I know a lot about this guy. He
Off
plays
the top of the head.
He plays defense.
That guy you're talking about was the quarterback of the second power play last night.
Dude, yeah, I know. Look,
seriously.
I swear to God it was on in my house. I can't promise you that it was.
That's what the Bruins are rolling out there.
I wasn't glued to it.
No, a friend
Well,
over. I was
okay,
I'm not watching
we'll get to the Celtics after the headlines here, but it was more entertaining than watching the Celtics last night against that team that showed up to play them.
Yeah, no
Holy
Embiid,
crap.
no George, no Maxey.
Well, they're tanking. And rightly so. They need to get in the top 6 or they lose their pick. All right, we will be back in just a moment. Here are the headlines.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Yet another crushing loss for the Bruins. They fell on the road to Carolina 3-2. Seth Jarvis, the game winner with just under 19 seconds left. Bruins visit Tampa Bay tomorrow. They made another trade late last night. They sent forward Justin Brazeau to Minnesota for a pair of bottom 6 centers, old friend Jakub Lako and Murat Husnudinov, as well as a 2026 6th-round draft pick. And TSN in Canada is reporting the feeling around the NHL is Brad Marchand's going to get traded to a Western Conference team. Celtics won for the 13th time in 16 games. They beat Philadelphia 123-105 at TD Garden. They will play the Lakers at TD Garden tomorrow night. And the Red Sox 6-5 in preseason play. They lost to Toronto yesterday 7-4. Walker Buehler will face the Miami Marlins in Fort Myers this afternoon. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by 128 Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric, the company that finishes every job strong. If your home or business has a plumbing, HVAC, electrical, or drain issue that can't wait, you need to call 128 now at 888-CALL-128. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7 o'clock.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
It's Maz for Window Nation. Don't miss your chance to take advantage of the buy 2, get 2 free and pay nothing until 2027. The offer ends soon, only from Window Nation. Schedule your free estimate now at 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com.
March is here and the sports action is heating up. The brackets are set, the upsets are coming, and you could be the next big winner with findmassmoney.gov. Here in Massachusetts, 1 in 10 people have unclaimed property from things like uncashed paychecks, refunds from overpaid bills, or forgotten savings accounts. Findmassmoney.gov is free, easy to use, and it only takes 30 seconds to search your name. So don't miss your shot because
the level of joy. That their offensive firepower, also really good in defense.
He doesn't play a lot.
No, he doesn't play at all. Actually.
Yeah, and that's weird because he was
Yeah.
playing a little bit last year.
Yeah.
I was at the Denver game. He's having a good time though. Every time they're in timeout, he seems to be joshing around like he's having a good time.
Good for him.
Sure.
The Sixers did give him a scare after that three-pointer that made it 123-99. They went on a 6-0 run to finish the game. 123-105.
You know what?
Final from the Garden last night.
The last night's game reminded me of something, if I could tell you.
Here is Sean Grandy with the coach.
All right, Joe Maury, thank you. Kids, don't try this at home, especially at the start of a conversation. I'm a highly trained professional and deeply skilled, but I'm going to make an analogy between Ali Frazier and something I saw Al do on Sunday against Jokic. In the iconic first fight, Joe Frazier knocks Ali down with his left hook in the 15th round. Ali always said in his younger days he would have slipped it, but even though he saw it coming, his brain just couldn't get the message to his legs in time. There was a play in the second half Sunday where Jokic, who was clearly, as he always is, playing 2 steps ahead, threw this skip pass to what should have been an open shooter. Al not only has the brain to read it, he somehow still has the legs to make that play, and he was doing that all day.
Yeah, Yabusele did that last night, too, for the 76ers. But it reminded me about Jerry Cooney fighting in that.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Yeah.
In that one fight?
Yeah, in his head. But his head said, take the punch so you can get the money.
It was Larry Holmes back then, I think.
Yeah, he's like, when I bleed, it looks real gruesome on account of my white skin. So just keep taking punches.
Chuck Wepner.
Chuck Wepner. Wepner was just a punching bag. They just put Wepner on because it looked real bad.
I know.
Like, this guy cuts easy. And when he does, it bleeds.
Let's put him in front of Muhammad Ali for a while.
And he'll fight every 4 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not afraid of brain damage at all.
Jerry Cooney. That's a good pull.
Well, hey, I'm just playing the game, man. Apparently, this is what we're doing now. We're just naming very, very minor facts from.
No, it's what professionals do. Don't you do it?
Kids, don't try this at home.
Let's leave it to the pros. Next up for the Celtics, big game Saturday night, 8:30. Los Angeles Lakers,
who won again last night.
Indeed, they did.
8 in a row.
I have a feeling. I guess it's just because I hate JJ Redick, but it feels like this Los Angeles thing is. It sounds like they're trying super hard right now. Like, went to overtime last night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see how this works out in the playoffs.
Yeah, like there are other teams who are taking their foot off the gas right now. They're resting guys. They're making sure everybody's okay. The Sixers are actively, as you said, tanking. So the Lakers are going the other way. They've been reinvigorated by this. It will be interesting to see how that manifests in the playoffs.
By the
I
way,
still think they're going to be good.
LeBron, at the age of 40, played 44 minutes last
That's what I'm saying is he's playing back-to-backs, too. Did you hear the thing Shaq said that you have to put Steph Curry in the conversation of the best player of all time? Because they're saying, now because LeBron has 50,000 points, they're saying that. But Steve Kerr was on a radio station, but he made an interesting point. That the 2 players that changed the way the game is played more than any are Wilt Chamberlain, because they expanded the key with Wilt Chamberlain. They changed the way you could take free throws. Do you know Wilt Chamberlain used to run and then just lay it up? He would run and then take off from the free throw line and lay it up. They made it so you couldn't do that. They banned the dunk for a little while with Wilt Chamberlain. And in terms of skill and the way the game is played, Steph Curry, you could argue, has changed the way the game is played now with all the three-point shooting, where people are shooting from. Like, he made that all possible because of it. This is all because of him, for good or bad. But I thought Steve Kerr made an interesting point, is that LeBron and Wilt Chamberlain and Jordan are all physical freaks. And Steph Curry, you could make an argument then, is the most skilled player of all time because he doesn't have those, birthright genetic advantages that the other guys have.
Still not, excuse me, still not in the conversation, though. Shaq's wrong.
But it's an interesting thing, John.
Okay.
Who's better, Steph Curry or Larry Bird?
Larry Bird.
Caller number 10 in the contest line, 617-931. God, you hate black people. 617-931-0985.
Save that.
We'll score a pair of tickets.
Leroy, did you hear that?
Leroy was in the hall. Score a pair of tickets. He knows. We talk about it behind your back.
Yeah, I know.
We call it behind. We talk about it all the time. He's like, I don't trust him. And I'm like, you're thinking right, Leroy. We'll score a pair of tickets to see The Offspring with Jimmy Eat World at Newfound Glory this summer at the Xfinity Center. That's July 30th. Tickets go on sale today at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. Bert Breer's here. We got a lot to talk about in just a moment.
for Josh's offense, to be completely honest with you. I think if Josh's offense is still what it was, and again, like I think I have a hard time seeing like a time where Josh's offense won't put a premium on route running, and this guy isn't a great route runner. He's a physical freak, but he's not a great route runner, so I don't know that he'd be a great fit.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. We're live on YouTube. You could always subscribe, and then corporate would just think we were the best. Bert Breer is the senior NFL reporter and lead content strategist for the MMQB. Getting down to business with Bert Breer is presented by Bentley University, where good business begins and leaders come to learn. That was a clip that Bert was talking about, unless I'm terribly mistaken, about DK Metcalf.
Yep.
And the opportunity of him coming to New England. Now, there was some talk like that the Seahawks wanted a first and something else, which
Diana Rossini, they wanted a first and a third.
Okay,
Yep.
and Bert just yes or no, that's never
they
gonna
want a
happen.
one.
But that's never going to happen.
I don't think so, based on what the contract is going to be.
Because the contract is what?
Because and people have to remember this, you're not just trading the player, you're trading the contract, which is why Joe Tooney went for what he went for. When a guy has one expensive year left on his contract, it's generally harder to move him because, A, you don't have him locked up long term, and B, is the lump sum you're dealing with that on your salary cap, plus you have to extend him. So that's where DK is right now. I think ultimately the price will probably fall somewhere around a 2. I do think they're going to probably wind up moving him. And I think this is an interesting one because from what I understand, he's looking to play for a contender in a warm weather city. I actually heard he wanted to play for Houston. And that might be off the table now because Christian Kirk just got traded there. But if you look at the way this is going to work out, my sense is there's going to be a sliding scale. So, like, let's say it's the Chargers versus the Patriots. He wants to play. He'd rather play in L.A. than New England. I think with him, you're probably going to be looking at, well, I'll go to L.A. at $30 million, but I'll go but I wouldn't go to New England for less than 35. And I'm making those numbers up, but I think that's sort of the scenario where there's going to be a sliding scale there.
Okay. What's happened so far, and how does what's happened affect the Patriots? Like, if you can kind of like run down, the moves in the NFL that have taken players maybe out of consideration for the Patriots.
You mean like as far as guys being tagged and stuff?
Yeah, tags.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like I think as guys have gotten signed, Alaric Jackson, I think would have been on the radar. The Rams left tackle, he re-signs there, I think at $19 million a year, and then T. Higgins gets tagged. It's just the reality of what the market is now, where the salary cap is exploding every year, going up $20, $25, $30 million per year, and teams have plenty of space to take care of their own. So the guys that make it to free agency generally are not core players. And I think the first question you always have to ask with these guys is, why is he available in the first place? So you have to get creative. And I think, again, we've talked a lot about like what Washington did. And, Washington last year, they didn't think they were going to win 12 games. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't think, like, we're going to be in the NFC title game next year. It was more, how can we get to a point where we can be like a 500 football team and we can be competitive week in and week out? And the way they did that was they went and got a bunch of guys they knew. Austin Eckler comes in. He played for Anthony Lynn with the Chargers. Zach Ertz comes in. He played for Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona. Then there were a ton of guys who had background with Quinn. It was Tyler Biotis, the center from Dallas. It was Dante Fowler and Dorrance Armstrong, defensive ends from Dallas. Bobby Wagner played for Dan Quinn in Seattle. So those guys weren't superstars, but they knew exactly what they were getting. And I think the Patriots are going to swing on some big guys. But I think the basis of what they do, it'd be smart to go at it the way Washington did, because this isn't a 1 or a 2 player problem that they have.
the issues going around right now that I see specifically for the Patriots and for some other teams is the unwillingness to spend high dollar amounts on players they aren't sure are going to be impactful. Okay. That we were talking about DK Metcalf earlier, what he's going to bring to the table, stuff like this. My question to you is, how much money is too much especially for the Patriots, when they have so much money that they have the ability to spend right now?
Well,
and are they going to have to? I guess, Bert, what the long way of saying is, are they going to have to take a risk on spending some money just like they would in a draft position? Because those are risky maneuvers.
What's like a good example of this is like, look at what the Raiders just did with Max Crosby. And Josh actually did the same thing when he got there 3 years ago. When you have a first-year head coach, everything you do is going to represent who you are.
Okay.
And so when you're first-year head coach, the locker room is paying close attention to who you're paying and what you're paying. And if you bring in some bleep head and pay him $20 million a year, like, what sort of impact is that going to have? That can have a chilling impact on what you're trying to build, which is part of why Washington approached it the way that they approached it during the offseason last year. I mean, Pete Carroll is making a statement in, like, paying Max Crosby 2 years early, saying, like, this guy represents what we're building here. And so, like, I do think if you're a veteran in that locker room, you're paying attention to who the Patriots are, who Mike Vrabel and his staff are willing to give $20 million a year to. You're paying attention to what they're spending the 4th overall pick on. You're paying attention to all of that stuff. And so I think to some degree that's gonna control some of your spending. I think the other thing is you have to be willing to go above and beyond, because as we've talked about, this ain't an attractive destination. And we can go over all the reasons again.
No, we kind of.
But that's the thing. In order to make it an attractive
geography.
destination, you got to get some players in here, and you're going to have some success, but you got to have some other guys in here.
It takes one big name to come here. Am I wrong in this?
Well, let's take Ronnie Stanley, right? Okay, because I think Ronnie Stanley, and I love Ronnie Stanley as a player. I think he would represent what you're trying to build. This is not without risk, right? Like, Ronnie Stanley to me is, and I got to look up the game total, but Ronnie Stanley's a really good player who has missed a lot of time over the last few years. And he was able to stay healthy this past year, but if you look at it, right? So in 2020 he played 6 games. In 2021 he played 1 game. Then in 22 he played 11. 23 he played 13. So he missed a ton of games over a 4-year period, which is why the Ravens made him take the pay cut last year. Okay, so he comes back. He played 17 games last year. If you're going to come in and if you're going to swoop in and get in that market, who are you up against? Well, this is who I think the teams are going to be in the Ronnie Stanley market. Baltimore is clearly in it. The Chiefs are in it. The Commanders are in it. And then you.
Oh, boy.
So
you're going to have to outbid those guys by a lot.
Like, but think about it, right?
Those places aren't any more attractive than New England.
The women are.
So if you're Ronnie Stanley, you've got the Chiefs, who've been in 3 straight Super Bowls. You've got Baltimore, which is where you've been and where you're very comfortable and where you've spent 9 years. You've got Washington, which won 12 games, has what a lot of people think is a generational young quarterback. And do you even have to move if you go play for the Commanders?
No, probably not.
You know what I mean? Like, so you're basically
it's that Maryland, Virginia, D.C. area. It's very tight.
I mean, you're basically staying home, right? Like, so, like, that's what you're up against, you know? And so how do you convince Ronnie Stanley to come up here? You have to overpay. And so, like, I think a big part of this is, like, being in those sorts of situations, you're going to have to be willing to say, okay, you may be worth 23 to the Ravens or 22 to the Ravens. You're worth 27 to us. And then it's like you have to backstop that probably with another player.
Yeah.
Because he does have the injury history, and you can't be in a situation where if he gets hurt, now you're back to whatever
year.
Vidarian Lowe
Back to last year. Yeah.
left tackle. You know?
And I guess that would be the real fear, to spend all that money and then just not even have the guy available for four
which
or
is the
5 games a year.
It's the Tyron Smith thing. You know,
Yeah.
it's like Tyron Smith, which is why the Jets also took a tackle with the 11th overall pick.
Right.
So the Jets actually wound up being okay.
And there's a theory that they could take the right tackle in the draft this year because
From Missouri?
Morgan
Moses?
Morgan Moses right tackle, right?
Morgan Moses plays right tackle for the
Yeah.
Jets.
So re-sign Morgan Moses, who I guess they really like, but then draft the right tackle because they know Morgan Moses, even though he's tough.
Yeah, and he's like the right kind of guy.
But he's the right kind of guy.
He's older, yeah.
So they liked how much it worked out with Tyron Smith and the kid from Penn State. That the idea, he brought it up, that the idea is that.
Did I say anything? I didn't say anything.
No, I'm saying it to the audience.
Okay.
Not you don't mind this, to my knowledge. But the idea is that
Jet stock.
It's just an example of it working in the NFL.
No, but it is, and like that's the thing is like, and that's what's available on the market, though. You know what I mean? Like these guys are available for a reason. Ronnie Stanley is available because the Ravens made him take a pay cut last year because he couldn't stay on the field.
Okay, there's a lot of negativity, and rightfully so. The Patriots are not a good team. They have a first-year head coach. They're almost starting from ground zero. Who are some of the people that could come here that aren't necessarily looped in with all of those people? I mean, the Patriots are going to sign some people here, whether it be Ronnie Stanley or not. Who are some of the guys that could come here that could help?
Yeah, I think they're going to take a swing on Milton Williams, the defensive tackle from the Eagles, who's a really good player. I mean, look, like I think he is also up in the, like you're talking about the $20 million range with him too. He might not quite get there, but I think, he'll be right in that area. If you don't get Ronnie Stanley, then I still think you have to attack the tackle position, obviously. So then you're talking about Dan Moore, the Steelers tackle, Cam Robinson, who's been really up and down over the course of his career. Minnesota last year, Jacksonville before that. And do you take a swing on Jedrick Wills, who has a lot of bad history? It was a high draft pick, so he's got talent, but Vrabel's going to have institutional knowledge of him because he was in Cleveland with him last year, and Mike was actually working directly with the offensive line. He'd be somebody, I think you'd look at. I think they're going to spend a lot on the offensive line in general. So, where are you at with David Andrews? Do you look at center? Do you add a guard? They made a call on Joe Thuney, which tells me that they're not opposed to the idea of looking at adding a guard. And then on defense, I think, it's like Javon Holland from Miami is somebody who is interesting in that, like, this is a different type of safety than what they have. Mm-hmm. He's like a true center fielder. And Mike, his history is, if you look, like he really valued, like Kevin Byard, he really valued Kevin Byard with Tennessee. So like having the kind of guy who's a really smart, heady safety back there, I think that's something, if you're looking for a big swing, that they could take a big swing on, because again, he's a different type of player than what they have. And then, I think just look back in the background of some of the coaches, like I said, with Washington, right? Like where they were kind of digging in. So are there some guys from Josh's background with the Raiders? Malcolm Kuntz is an interesting name because he is ultra, ultra, ultra talented, but never quite lived up to his potential in Vegas. They thought he was going to have a huge breakout year last year. It didn't happen because he got hurt. Robert Spillane was, I believe, a captain for Josh McDaniels, played for the Steelers. Kind of a middle linebacker, like who is a guy who, you could say, okay, like this guy can be the traffic controller of our defense. I think there are a lot of guys like that people should look at that have history and background. But I also have heard this, like I think Mike's been realistic with the people in the building about what the guys in Tennessee were. You know, so like I don't think he's going to overreach for some guy just because he knows him.
All right, Trey Hendrickson, the guy who led the NFL in sacks last year, could not come to an agreement with Cincinnati. They've been trying to find a contract for the last 2 years, and yesterday Cincinnati told him to go find a trade. Would that be someone that the Patriots would make a call on?
He's a great player. He's 35 sacks over the last 2 years. No,
I don't know what Cincinnati's doing because I would keep him.
No. I know what Cincinnati's doing.
Paying the other two guys.
Well, also, hang on. The defense sucks. They sucked with him. So you can't overspend on one player for a defense that already sucked. Well, you can let him go, and then you can improve the defense as a whole. Am I wrong?
No. I think that
Jesus God.
I don't but I don't think it's like the worst idea. Like, because I think the way they look at it is we have three guys who are set to make a ton of money. You remember the name Carl Lawson?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so if you go back and you look at what Cincinnati did, this was 4 years ago now, I think, 5 years ago. They let Carl Lawson go and signed Trey Hendrickson, and a lot of people were like, "What are you doing?" You know. And then Carl Lawson was a complete bust with the Jets, and Trey Hendrickson comes in and becomes what he's been. They have three guys they've got to pay at a high level in T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Trey Hendrickson. Two of those guys are in their mid-20s. One is in his early 30s.
So that would mean the Patriots would not make a call.
No. I'm saying that's why they're letting him go.
Okay.
Like that's why they're. Trey Hendrickson is a really good player. My question with him would be, is it worth flipping a third-round pick for a guy who probably won't have anything left by the time you get good? Because I think you have to look at these things at timelines of the Patriots. Like there's two pieces to it. Well, like there's the one that's how do we get up and running and be functional, right? Like which is how do we get to a point where we can field a team where we're not going to get our quarterback murdered out there, where we can be competitive at every position. And then there's a Trey Hendrickson who, if you're going to pay him $30 or $35 million a year, which is what I think he would ask for in a new contract, well, that's now a core player. That's a guy you're giving up something significant for. So if you internally are talking about, it's we're not going to be contending for a championship till, say, 27.
Right.
What's he going to have left?
It's like Judon. When they got Judon,
Yeah.
except your team's worse.
Yeah.
So that's it. All right, well, listen, we have to break, but Bert's here for an hour. So hold on to your hats.
Yep. Buckle up.
Buckle up. Buckle up,
Buttercup.
baby. Buckle up, Buttercup. We'll be back in just a moment. Let's go. Let's ride.
98.5.
Like, let's roll the dice.
The Sports Hub.
I'm confident that we'll be aggressive. We've started some of those discussions internally, and I think having different plans and having an option A and option B, I mean, things are going to change. Everybody's looking at the same players, so we have to be ready to pivot and adjust and have a vision for each player, I would say, at each level.
.985thesportshub.com. I have to admit, I had never heard of doing it, then the URL, and then all of that. I never thought I'd live to see the day.
And here we are.
It's like the flying car. It's like self-driving cars, which are coming tomorrow. Just look at the
It's
stocks.
very disappointing that it's the year 2025 and we don't have flying cars yet.
Well, maybe if the guy that was running the company was interested in the company, you would have flying cars. But you do not.
He's got bigger fish to fry.
He's got bigger fish to
And
fry.
the
Like
Jetsons,
watching that
the Jetsons
stock
made us
tank.
believe that we'd be all in like those bubbles now.
Well, listen, they also believe that you could have a redheaded wife and then a ugly boy and a very hot girl, as did the Munsters. So that's where we're at as people. All right, look, we've mentioned DK Metcalf. You've talked about free agency. You talked about the willingness of teams to come here. Let's get into the draft.
Yep.
Okay. So you know I love the draft, Bert.
Fred's little known fact that Fred's a big draft guy.
And I read your stuff on the draft, and so you, as we've talked about before, two things that Bert has brought to the table that I have found game changing, and I'm not being that's not hyperbole. One, that owners are not always interested in. We think that they're like interested in like Super Bowls and that's how they compete. But Bert has made the point that sometimes owners are interested in how well the business is running, and that's how they kind of compete with one another.
In other words, like when they're like making fun of one of their peers, it's more often that they're a dumb businessman than they lose games.
Right. So ideally you would win a Super Bowl, but you would do so while, being the most doing it in the less costly way, cost-effective way.
Yep.
Which I found, you guys have to admit, like, if that's the way it is, that's pretty surprising and almost feels like a grift. Like, we're all these idiots running under, running around throwing money at these things where these guys have a totally different outlook on it.
I had an interesting conversation a few years ago about a particular owner. I won't name him here, but it came up like that. This is an owner who is pretty disengaged from his team, and
John Henry,
Mark Davis.
No, Mark Davis is actually very engaged.
Very engaged.
With
after what his father did to him.
Very engaged with his team.
Yeah, you don't think that he needs friends?
In fact, that's like part of the problem there.
Okay.
No, but I think so there was this owner who was disengaged from his team, and I remember hearing he doesn't really care about this. He doesn't really know what's going on with the team, and that's why there's always infighting with this team because there's no one to officiate the problems because he's just not there.
Right.
And I said to this person, I'm like, so why even buy the team? They made the point to me, for a billionaire, what other business can you invest in that guarantees appreciation the way an NFL franchise does?
Yeah.
What else can you invest in that's going to guarantee to grow in value the way an NFL team will grow in value?
That is true, but if you're a billionaire, you're always going to be a billionaire, unless you really make horrible business decisions.
Right.
It's not hard.
You're not going broke.
Yeah, it's not hard.
You might be less wealthy, but
if you put $1 billion in the S&P 500, it's going to grow 4%, and 4% of a billion is a lot, at least, right? So I always was under the impression that owners wanted to be.
And I'm sorry, Fred, but I'm just thinking if I were a billionaire, and unless I truly love the game and love the team, the last thing I would do is invest a bunch of money, even if it is guaranteed appreciation, because along with that will come people hating you who never knew your name before. And now you're going to have Like people,
which is
complete
like why a lot of
strangers.
them can't handle it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that was what I was going to say too. Is that my impression was I want to be Wick Grossbeck, right? I want the town to love me. I'm investing my money in this product because I want to be loved. I want to buy the admiration and be a part of this community. And I never had these glories as a child, and now this is my opportunity to get that. And that's because Hardy's right. I can be I made $1 billion, right? Like I've made my $1 billion. Now, why would I put myself in a position? Because, and you could say, well, you get to mix with these people. No, as a billionaire, I could buy museums and to hire the great artists and poets to come and hang out at my apartment and my 10,000 square foot apartment in Manhattan. There's no limit to what they can do and who they can rub elbows with. The sports thing, I'm with Hardy. Like that's how I always felt about it. So it's strange.
Yeah.
That's all.
I mean, I don't think it boils down to who you are. You know what I mean? Like the owners, they aren't general managers, they aren't coaches, so it sucks to lose. I'm not like, and these guys are generally really competitive people. But what's worse for them is if their reputation as businessmen take hits. For a lot of them, and I'm not saying all of them. I mean, I think that there are a lot that invest a lot into their teams. Like the guys here generally have been pretty good about wanting to win and all of that. Do you prioritize winning against everything else is, I think, the question, and I don't think there are that many owners that do.
Right, and it is interesting since Belichick's been gone.
Like, that's one thing, like Lurie. Jeffrey Lurie is the one that, like, you look at. I think it's a good example of somebody who he has consistently prioritized winning over everything else, and that's Wick Grossbeck's buddy. Like, so, you know, like, I think Wick is probably...
So Lurie's Eagles.
Eagles, yeah.
And then, but Baltimore too, right?
Yeah. He's interesting because, so Steve Bisciotti's an interesting owner because he doesn't get involved in any of it. Like
because he had Ozzie Newsome.
Yeah, he doesn't, like he's the coolest owner by far. I would say, like, I think most people who cover the NFL would agree, like, just as far as like actually being a cool guy,
right?
Like he is,
which is probably rarefied.
And this is this guy's like the, when it comes to that circle, is like the, the 80s 49ers.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Except
versus everybody else.
He's not running scams. Yeah, okay.
Versus everybody else. Well, maybe he is. I don't know. It's possible. But he's not on all these committees. He shows up at the owners' meetings. He's not really involved in that. He's just in it to, like, hey, I want to run a winning team, and that's it. And, like, sort of, he's there at the facility sometimes, but not all the time. And he gives them resources, and he says, I want you guys to run a forward-thinking organization that I can be proud of, and hands them the keys, and that's it. And he doesn't need to be. The interesting thing about him is, like, I mean, Google him. Like, he very easily could be a guy who could be very, very much like a face of the franchise type, but chooses not to be. I mean, you probably, if you go, like, I'm Google Steve Bisciotti, look him up. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys have never seen him before.
But he's had such stability in positions of power in that franchise, and they have, like, world-class facilities,
and
right?
And it's about more than one person there. Like if you look at it, Ozzie Newsome to Eric DaCosta, and then coaching-wise, Brian Billick to John Harbaugh. They've won a couple of Super Bowls. They've been consistent. Like, they're not always at the top of the league, but they've been consistently competent. They've won with different quarterbacks, from Trent Dilfer to Steve McNair to obviously Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson. Like, they've stood the test of time.
You know what was interesting to me, look, it's the off season, so I'm going to ask, is that the Pittsburgh, the Rooneys were considered by the players not to be good owners. I've always been under the assumption
their
that
facility is, like, not great.
Okay.
Their facility is kind of
Are they cash poor?
I would say in relative terms, yes.
Because the story about the Steelers is that Rooney won it in, like, a card game or something, like, back.
Well, yeah, it's a family. I mean, them and the Maras are sort of the same, right? Like, them and the Maras are family ownership groups that have, I mean, Bidwell to some degree is a sort of the same thing with the Cardinals. Obviously, Mike Brown, in Cincinnati. That's like the older school owners where, if you walk in the office in Pittsburgh, like Art Rooney's going to be there, like on a daily basis. Same thing with the Giants. Like it is legitimately this isn't like one of their businesses. You know what I mean? Like those, like that is. It is like legitimately their family business where there are people from the family working in the office day to day, which, with most of the new owners, you don't see that. Most of these, it costs so much to buy a team.
Right. It
now.
can't be your only business. It has to be a part of like a conglomerate.
Right.
All right. Well, look, I do want to get into the draft. I got sidetracked there because I thought when Bert.
What was my other contribution?
Was that you had said all along Cam Ward was going to be the number 1 overall pick, and that seems to be coming through.
I don't know number 1 overall, but I think the top quarterback,
Okay.
Yeah, top quarterback.
Because you have him going number 1 overall, though.
I haven't done a mock yet.
Then I read it wrong. Or
I probably, I think the 2 best prospects are Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter.
Sure.
I think the number 1 quarterback, and I think what I said to you guys the other day is I think the gap between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders for most teams is bigger than the gap between Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart.
Okay, because Jackson Dart seems to be really moving. I want to get into. I'm really interested in Shedeur Sanders, and Patriots fans should be too, because they need him taken before their pick. So let's get into that. We will be back with Bert. We'll get into the draft, and I always enjoy that. Here are the headlines. was insinuating very strongly, but in a cute, obtuse way, that one of the quarterback coaches from a top 7 team.
Which is an oddly specific number.
Yeah, but the Jets quarterback coach is black, and they have the 7th pick, and their head coach is black. So, and Cam Ward's black, so I don't get any of this.
She had a long conversation.
Is it like you just add one?
Yeah, like it was so like you know what she wants you to do? She wants you to say something to her so she can retweet it and go, "This is what I'm dealing with," and the idea was like this guy. It almost seemed like she was in love with Shedeur Sanders. She's like, this guy said Shedeur was cocky in a meeting, and it's because he's black, basically. Well, now Todd McShay, who is working for The Ringer, and he said, well, not only that, but Shedeur Sanders, I've heard, has met with a couple teams where it seemed in their 15-minute meeting like he had no interest at all with those teams.
Yeah.
So Shedeur Sanders, and then what the guy told McShay, and I'm sure, Bert, you've heard stuff too, is like, they're like, look, this guy's an average athlete with an average arm. He holds on to the ball too long.
Yeah.
There's a lot of flaws in his game. He's got no business
I don't
acting
think
this way.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it is that I think to some degree, like he's not stupid. Deion's not stupid. And I think one of the things that's interesting about Deion that people don't really fully grasp is he's super old school in the way he runs his program. And Colorado, like the foundation of what they've done is like almost like Nick Saban-esque, like the way they try to run the thing. And so like I don't think like Shedeur Sanders is a total bleep head, but I do think this feels to me at least a little bit like an Archie Eli situation, where 20 years ago Archie saw it as I don't like the situation with the team that has the first pick, so I'm going to steer him somewhere else, and I'm going to be the bad guy, and there were a lot of questions back then, if you remember, about, well, does that mean if you draft Eli, you're getting Archie? No, because Archie was never going to do that. Archie wasn't going to insert himself in his kid's career that way or create that problem for his kid. It was just getting him to the right place, and then he disappeared. And I think that might be part of what's going on with Shedeur, where it's Deion might be helping try to steer him to a certain place. Now, the risk is that he's not as good a prospect as Eli.
Yeah, Eli Manning was the number 1 pick in the draft.
Right.
There was no doubt about it. He was a not generational, but he was
a really good prospect.
A very, very good prospect from a blue blood family.
And Shedeur, the risk for Shedeur is you're dismissive to a couple teams you don't want to go to, and all of a sudden you fall out of the first round.
Yeah, and you've talked to people, I would imagine, that don't even view him as a first-round talent.
Yeah, and I think that this is, to me, this is going to be like Bo Nix. In that last year, I had a real hard time finding very many teams at all that saw Bo Nix as a first-rounder. Some didn't see him as a second-rounder. And really for Bo Nix, it was more about finding the right fit, because he didn't have a huge arm, and he's a good, not great athlete. And would a lot of the stuff that he did at Oregon and Auburn translate onto an NFL field? And the reality of it was that Sean Payton saw him differently than almost everybody else in the league. Interestingly enough, the other team that really liked him was New Orleans, which is where Sean came from, obviously, and a lot of the same people were there. But he went to the exact right place. And I think we underrate that stuff sometimes. Like, he went to the exact right place. So he wasn't as good a prospect as Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels or Drake May to most of the league. But Sean Payton had him ranked as the number 2 quarterback in the entire class behind only Jaden Daniels. He was number 2 for their.
Oh, he had him above Caleb Williams.
Yeah, he had him number 2 in the entire class. And so, I think that's what it's going to be for Shedeur. Is he doesn't have the talent that makes you say, yes, like we can work with that for everybody.
Is Bo Nix bigger and a better athlete than Shedeur, though?
He's stout. Yeah, I would say they're probably about the same height. You have to look this up. I think
he just seems like a bigger.
They're about the same height, but Bo Nix is stouter. Yeah, like he's better built. They're both instinctive, accurate, smart, tough. Like they both have that. I think Bo is a little bit more probably a little bit more evolved because he played more, you know. And one thing that Shedeur doesn't have is Shedeur isn't very efficient in the pocket. Like one difference you hear about like Shedeur versus Jackson Dart is Shedeur runs backwards. Jackson Dart moves forwards in the pocket. Like if you watch a lot of Shedeur, what you'll see is he'll bail out the back of the pocket, and you can't do that in the NFL if you're not, you know, Lamar Jackson.
If you're not Josh
I
Allen.
mean, you're not going to be able. I mean, it's just he's not going to be able to get away from guys the way he did in college if he tries to do that. So there are things he has to work on.
And he barely did in college. I mean,
Yeah,
he get hit.
I just think it's like, but it's the same.
He's got
to me,
PTSD, all running for his life for 2 years.
To me, it's like the same as Bo Nix, though, in that like it's like a narrow path that I think he's going to have to walk to becoming a star NFL quarterback, and there's going to have to be a fit there for him, like going to the right place.
Both of them are 6'2", 215.
Okay.
It just
Bo Nix looks bigger.
Bo Nix legit looks way bigger. Like you saw Shedeur.
Bo Nix looks like a running back.
Yeah, Shedeur Sanders at the podium and like coming into the combine looked like a
he's skinny.
like a thin, like handsome fella. Like he didn't look like like a big football player.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Patriots are at 4. You think Cam Ward? You're not for sure Cam Ward's going number 1.
I think Cam Ward will be gone by the time I pick.
Okay,
I do.
So that leaves what the Giants.
So that would
and,
be it's the Giants,
Cleveland.
the Browns, and the Titans.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think my guess would be Cam Ward goes either 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I had to guess right now, I'd say Carter and Hunter are probably gone. Hunter's interesting to me because, like, you have this need at receiver if you're the Patriots. Could you play Hunter for a year as just a receiver? Because he's never really done that before. And the comps on Hunter as a receiver are Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith. Like, so he has a chance to be a really good receiver.
Local reporting, guys like Doug Kyde and Andrew Callahan, I think, were reporting that the Patriots love him as a receiver.
Right, and so, like, do you look at it and say, okay, for the time being, we'll take him and we'll play him at receiver as a rookie.
Yeah.
And then a year or two from now, he'll go full-time to defense and be part-time as a receiver because that's the way you sort of have to do it logistically. We talked about that last week, I think, right? Like where you have to, like, you sort of – a guy can't be – it's, like, really hard to be a part-time guy on defense.
No, I know. And people are starting to pick apart him a little bit as a corner now. They're starting to show games where he struggled.
Yeah.
There's a lot I
think he's going to –
a lot of time. But, I mean, he's
say,
not a perfect prospect.
And here's the other thing. It's like I think the way most of the league sees the draft class is Carter and Hunter up here, and then there's like this clump of 10 players. So I almost feel like if Carter or Hunter falls to you, it's really hard to say no. Like with the 4th pick, you shouldn't be drafting for need.
Oh, absolutely not. And
if we're in the second round, the third, that's where you draft for need. But if you're having the 4th pick, it should be just get a blue chip player. If one of those blue chip players is available, now if both those guys are gone, then it's Will Campbell, Mason Graham, Jalen Walker. I mean, Ashton Genty's going to be seen that way. I don't think you take a running back that high, but he's in that class. Will Campbell. So to me, like Will Campbell's interesting because Will Campbell, I think you have to be comfortable. Look up Brandon Sheriff if you're a Patriots fan. Like Washington took him in 2015, was a great left tackle at Iowa. A lot of people said, no, he's really a guard. 5th overall pick. They started him out in camp at tackle.
Yeah, we've talked about him.
And he winds up being a really good guard. So you have to be comfortable with that. If, yes, we'll draft him as a tackle. He may become a guard. So you have to be comfortable with that. With Mason Graham, it's sort of, is there a ceiling on how good he can be because of his size, right? The one that I think is really interesting that I think Vrabel is really going to like that no one's talking about yet, that I think, if you want to roll the dice on a guy who can become a blue chipper, is this guy Jalen Walker, who I think has a lot of the same things that Abdul Carter has. He's a little shorter for an edge rusher, but if you go back and you watch his highlights, he's an absolute menace. Georgia. He's an absolute menace.
That's
he's all over the place. Yeah. And he's just he's this Swiss Army knife of off-ball linebacker, plays on the line. You can use him all over the place. And I look at him and I'm like, man, like that is like the sort of guy like where if you add him to your defensive front, like he may not be blue chip right now, but I mean, you guys know the tackle from Texas, Kelvin Banks?
Yes.
One of the main reasons that Kelvin Banks may fall out of the top 10, he's very talented, right?
Yeah.
Is because of Jalen Walker.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't want a tackle that could be a guard at 4.
Well, no,
I don't want that.
And the Jets have. You don't want the Patriots taking him because that's the dream Jets pick is this kid from Georgia. So shut up. All right, Bert. Thank you so much. MMQB is the place. I've been reading them. Read them as well. When we come back, we're going to talk about moms that are dead. We will do that in just a moment.
Pretty much.
Latest backbreaker for the Bruins. They get a pair of goals from Morgan Geekie. They visit Tampa Bay tomorrow. They made another trade late last night. They sent forward Justin Brazeau to Minnesota for a pair of bottom six centers, old friend Jakub Lauko and Marat Hustadinov. They also got a 2026 sixth-round draft pick in the deal. TSN in Canada reported yesterday the Bruins are not saying no now to trade offers for Brad Marchand, and the general feeling around the NHL is he'll be traded to a Western Conference team today. The Celtics now have 3 straight wins and 13 in their last 16 games. They beat Philadelphia 123-105 at TD Garden. The Green were without Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, Drew Holiday, and Sam Hauser. But Jason Tatum scored 35 points in the win.
Shout out to the Stay Ready group and the coaches that they work with, keeping those guys, up to speed. They put a lot of work in every single day for these moments and opportunities when, we have 4 or 5 guys out. We start Drew Peterson, Baylor, and TC, and Jordan, and Nemi, all those guys playing big minutes tonight.
The next game is the big one at home tomorrow night against the Lakers, and the Red Sox are now 6-5 in preseason play. They lost to Toronto yesterday, 7-4 down in Florida. Walker Buehler will start today against the Miami Marlins in Fort Myers today with a lot of the starters in the field behind him. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the DeMore McKim School of Business at Northeastern University. You'll do more than just keep pace with the future. You'll define it. Connect with them at an admissions event at northeastern.edu/business events. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
Boston's best sports talk. There's an app for that. Download the Sports Hub app for loads of stuff. Absolutely free. Connect with the shows, get podcasts, and more. Get it where you get your apps. Or at 985sportshub.com. You said you wanted to hear more music in the morning.
Never had to knock on wood, but I never had it yet.
No, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
It's the other day, not so long ago, when you were playing not theme songs, but the music that plays during transitions in shows.
Sure.
Old sitcoms and such. You even couldn't figure out. Now all the blood is going into my genitals.
Because that's the Golden Girls transition.
Yes.
To be on the lanai and to watch Sophia sit nude in a cheesecake.
To be in the breezeway.
Stanley! He was a cad. But, look, I went into that not knowing how I would do. And I came out really proving how cool I am by getting all of them except one. And the one I didn't get was, nonsense. Yeah, Zach, all right. And so, what is the crowd supposed to be doing during that? I don't think they filmed Saved by the Bell in front of a live studio audience. And it's my guess. Timeout. And so I did that, and people were like, wow, you must have been a really cool kid that you not only know the theme songs to all the schools, but you know the transition music for these random sitcoms. And then also the Rockford Files for no reason, even though the Rockford Files wasn't even on when you were alive. But why not? So what is the deal now?
Jim Rockford driving, following at a safe distance. Where's he going? Why is he pulling in there?
Nice car.
By the way, everyone do yourself a favor and watch the show Quincy. And
Quincy MD. Yeah.
Oh, just watch the opening credits.
But Quincy MD, when he tackled the punk rock problem.
Yeah, the Quincy Punk episode is amazing.
It's
it's on YouTube too, I believe.
Oh, it's on YouTube.
You can find it.
Yeah, you don't have to get the DVDs. Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's
so good.
It's so
what
hysterical.
About the punks? Who cares about the punks?
And the kid who's the main punk, and his big act of defiance is he dies the middle of his head, and you're like, ooh,
yeah.
All right.
Just one more, Fred, because people were impressed with your ability to do this. How long will it take you to get this transition music?
Great watch. Just play it. Let me sing along. This is when
that was maybe a second.
Yeah, here we go. I know it, baby.
Well, this is something different this time around, and it won't tax your brain as much. It's really more of a think piece on mothers on situation comedies that are not present and are not part of the show. And for that, we have this.
Sitcom moms, too bad they're dead and gone. Sitcom moms are top seed and embalmed. But did we get to see, were they murdered or diseased? They're fertilizing moms. What happened to these sitcom moms?
Fertilizing lawns, sitcom moms, what happened to them?
All right,
You're
saying they're dead.
These sitcom moms are all dead. Now, we started with the fantastic theme song to the Andy Griffith Show. We know that Sheriff Andy Taylor is raising his son Opie in Mayberry, North Carolina. Did we ever find out what happened to Opie's mom?
Now, that's interesting because that's the 60s, and you couldn't show sex, but violence was A-okay, and that's the war generation. That's like the World War II generation, so maybe death... Because off the top of your head, you would think no. But that's a generation that grew up around death. John, let's get your theory first because you're
He's looking it up over there.
I am looking it up over here.
Jesus
What the hell,
Christ,
John?
Well, this is for you. It's not for me.
Well, you're supposed to play too.
All right. Look, he addressed you
Adam.
directly. He addressed you directly because of this.
He dressed me addressedly.
Whatever.
Okay, so this is something interesting that Fred will go off on a tangent on, but I will say it anyway. Apparently, the show and other shows had something called a backdoor pilot.
His name was Henry, and he did it in the cockpit with a plastic orifice.
I don't know what a backdoor pilot is. You want to be helpful, John, and not cheat? Look up
Sure.
what a backdoor pilot
it would
is
be
for a
my
sitcom.
pleasure to look that up.
I can
Thank
guess
you.
what a backdoor pilot is.
Why don't you guess? This will be another game.
Maybe it's a pilot that's not meant for air, but is to show the network the setup and backstory of the show.
Love that explanation, and I will go with that until we find out for sure. But in the Andy,
So can I guess though? I'm guessing that they did explain why she died.
in the show called Danny Meets Andy Griffith, that is the show's backdoor pilot, is revealed that Opie's mom died. In the episode, Andy admits that his wife died when Opie was a baby. But apparently
giving birth to Opie, and that's why he resented Opie so much that whole time. That's why he kicked him into the swimming hole when they were going fishing.
A backdoor pilot is when a spin-off series is pitched through an episode of its pre-existing parent show.
Oh, so that would be like Laverne and Shirley on Happy Days.
Oh,
Yes.
you know what? Hold on. Because Andy Griffith was a spinoff from the Danny Kaye show.
Of course it was.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure.
Well,
he was like a character on like a sketch comedy variety show.
The Jeffersons were on the Jeffersons
All in the Family.
All in the Family. And like more, the best is when Happy Days introduced Mork and Mindy.
Well,
they did it so naturally.
They didn't introduce Mindy, but they introduced Mork.
Yeah, and Egg showed up in the Cunningham's living room.
Yeah, this was before the show jumped the shark, obviously.
Yeah, this is when they had plenty of ideas about 1950s
Still
Milwaukee.
throwing fastballs, 97, lots of movement.
They're just like, hey, we got this this manic comic at the Comedy Store. Chuck him on Happy Days. Anyone will watch anything.
3 spinoffs from Happy Days. Laverne and Shirley. Joni
Joni
Loves
Loves
Chachi.
Chachi. Oh, yeah,
And
Joni.
Mork,
yeah, I
and
forgot
Mork,
about
and
Joni
technically Mork and Mindy.
Well, Joni Loves Chachi was sort of an in memoriam. Like, that was when things were going bad.
All right, so we know what happened with Andrew Griffith there. She's dead. Only mentioned in one episode that aired, Wedding Bells for Aunt B, when they said that Andy tells Opie that he and Opie's mom were in love when they were together, and that's it. All right, let's move on to a show that you're much more familiar with, Fred, The Brady Bunch. Now, as you know, the boys had a different mother other than Carol Brady. The girls had a different father other than Mike Brady. But was the boys' mom ever mentioned?
No. In the first episode is them getting married. And the interesting, Tiger, the dog, was put in place by nailing his leash to the ground. And there was also a cat that ran into the wedding cake in that episode, and the cat was never featured on the show again. The answer to that, Hardy, is no.
Wow. As a matter of fact, Carol's husband is never addressed. The show creator, Sherwood Schwartz, wanted her to be divorced, but the network wanted her to be a widow. News sides never came to a compromise, but in terms of the mom, never, ever mentioned.
Jeez. That's phenomenal.
I think she's dead, though. I think she's dead.
You know, Webster had Ben Vereen, who would come by, and Webster would pack a bag, and he'd be waiting by the door, and he would say, "Ma'am, I'm leaving, and I don't want to be here anymore." And she'd go, "Oh, my. Let Webster wait." And then Webster would wait, and Ben Vereen would not come.
Ever.
And that's why Webster, in that famous episode, hung himself.
That's right. All right, something you're also very familiar with, Full House. Fred, you've seen every episode of Full House multiple times?
I've certainly seen every episode because my daughter watched it, and I watched it with her. I am familiar with it. They didn't mention it certainly in the beginning, but they missed Mom. Yeah, they talked about her how she died. Yeah, they did talk about they didn't say how she died, but they did address that she was dead because the girls did express that they missed their mother in episodes.
Okay, I'll give it to you one, but apparently it gets mentioned one time in season 1.
Okay, because they
a
do
brief mention in season 1. The co-stars point out it's a home movie flashback in which Mom comes home from the hospital with baby Michelle.
all right.
Seeing Mom again. This is from Cracked, which is the website of record as far as I am concerned. Seeing Mom again doesn't seem to trigger much emotion in Steph and Deej except for sentimental grins.
Well, I did know that there was an episode where they do mention the mom, so that counts. I thought they did it more than once, but that's not my concern. It's that this is about a yes or no answer. I said yes, that's correct.
Yeah,
move on.
That is correct. All right, let's move on to the Beverly Hillbillies. You got Jed Clampett.
Can you watch that anymore now, knowing the behavior of Jethro in real life?
What did Jethro do wrong?
He was part of that. Who's the guy from Hogan's Heroes? The
S&M, like Hollywood swinging, yeah.
Like Jethro will pop up if you're reading a biography. Jethro, very involved in the 1960s, 70s porn industry.
No
Jethro.
kidding.
He was very into sex, regardless of gender. And regardless, he was into prostitutes. I find it very difficult to see the Beverly Hillbillies now without knowing Jethro was like in the like trailer before the scene, having a foursome with like God knows who.
Hold on, I'm hearing something on the Brady Bunch thing. Do we have audio that I skipped over? Hold on to something. We may have a score change.
Where's your mother's picture, Bonnie?
I put it away in the drawer.
Because of Carol?
I thought maybe she might not like it when she moves in.
Come here, Bobby. Now you can put it right back, son.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. I don't want you to forget your mother, and neither does Carol.
Gee, that's swell.
Well, how about that, Fred?
Wow.
Season 1, episode 1.
Of all the things that you would get wrong, I would say that was last on the list. That's not right. You have an encyclopedic knowledge of that show. Wow. That's the upset of the day right there.
Where's your mother's picture, Bonnie?
I put it away in the drawer.
Because of Carol?
I thought maybe she might not like it when she moves in.
Come here, Bobby. Now you can put it right back, son.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. I don't want you to forget your mother, and neither does Carol.
Gee, that's swell.
That's swell. I get to keep the picture of Mom. No, burn it. She doesn't exist.
Taking that one off the board. Oh, my God.
I feel bad. I do.
Yeah. All right,
but that is the first episode is the marriage episode, correct?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. Tiger's the cat?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
All right.
Tiger's the dog.
No, Tiger's the dog. Who's that? What's the cat's name?
No clue.
Oh, I do, because it runs in the cake. stop. I'm all shook up now. I can't tell you.
Let's skip over the Beverly Hillbillies, get right to the end here. Different strokes. Arnold and Willis, we know that they're adopted by Mr. Drummond. What about their mom?
Okay, so I don't remember every episode of Different Strokes, but as it was a fish out of water thing, there has to have been an episode where, because they're black, that a irresponsible black figure came to go, and it's a trope. It's like, it's how 80s television, 70s television worked.
Yeah.
There had to, I don't know this for a fact, but there had to be a time where an irresponsible black figure came and promised something that wasn't delivered.
Okay, so in Different Strokes, Arnold and Willis's mom was a woman by the name of Lucy Jackson.
She worked for Mr. Drummond.
The Drummond's longtime housekeeper,
Right.
portrayed by Todd Bridges' real-life mom.
Oh.
Is she dead? Is she gone?
Yeah, she's dead.
She's dead is the correct answer. A scene of Willis at the gravesite.
Well, here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Arnold, maybe it'd be a little more comfortable for you if I just left you alone for a couple minutes.
Alone? What do I say to Mom?
Well, just tell her whatever
I don't know
comes
about
to
how many
mind,
times you're going to get
whatever's in
kidnapped.
your heart.
Just let her know that you have a guardian that's going to allow you to get kidnapped on several occasions. He's going to let you hang out at a bike store where the guy's giving you alcohol and watching you cartoon porn. And then we're going to bust in and catch the guy molesting Dudley, and nothing's going to happen. We're just going to be there for no reason. We're coming in with the cops. And Dudley's dad looked like he could do damage. Dudley's dad had a head on him. You break your fist.
Dudley's one who's that bike shop one too many times.
Well, Arnold got wise. But there was the episode where Arnold's sister gets kidnapped by the guy who gets locks Arnold in a room because he's got NASA videos. Arnold, in the beginning of the episode, expresses a lot of interest in space travel. And wouldn't you know it, this guy's got an apartment with this. And then he puts that in. And, of course, the two-part Sam episode where Sam is the Drummonds are at their country house, and Sam is kidnapped from a general store and taken into a family where the kids are told and the mom is told, this is your new son and or brother, and you'll live with it. And they're teenagers and adults, and they just sit there until one of them has a crisis of conscience in the second episode. And Mr. Drummond comes in.
All those details almost make up for you screwing up so badly on the Brady Bunch.
I am giving you details to try to fill out my resume. I've failed the test.
But that's the game.
Fertilizing moms, what happened to these sitcom moms?
Stop. Do not play this. You know what would be a game in the summer, like when there's nothing to do, is like irresponsible minority father figure. And just like which of these shows had the like irresponsible minority father figure promise something and then never deliver.
Yeah. I mean, it's still going on in Modern Family. Yeah. Manny's dad was still, cast in that
It
role.
was like a glaze.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? That was one?
No, his mom was cool. Like his mom.
I thought it was Ben Vereen who showed up.
No,
right?
but there's an episode of Fresh Prince where he goes to Philadelphia because he wants to live with his mom again, and then she's like, you got to get back to, like, his mom's not, and his mom goes to Bel-Air. Like in that one, the mom is presented as like a good woman who did the right thing for Will Smith, and then she's like, just never ever ever at the Oscars, don't ever worry about hitting the host because they won't kick you out. In fact, they'll give you your award. That's what they said to him. Well, I do feel bad about the Brady Bunch thing. If Todd Merlino, my good friend, if you're listening, I couldn't do it, buddy. All right, so we'll be back. Cedric Maxwell will be with us in just a moment.
rocket science.
For Toucher and Hardy, Cedric Maxwell is a Celtics color analyst on the 98.5 The Sports Hub Celtics Radio Network. He's joining us after two games in a row. So, Cedric, thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me on.
We do appreciate it. Okay, I want to start with something. So Shaquille O'Neal was talking on TV, and he said, or I don't know what he was talking on, and he said he wanted to suggest that Steph Curry be in the discussion for greatest player of all time. And so he said that, and then Steve Kerr said, that's interesting. He's certainly the most skilled player of all time because everyone else that's in that conversation is like a genetic freak, and he's not. What are your thoughts on these matters?
That's kind of interesting. Michael was genetic freak. LeBron, genetic freak. Skill set. Steph is unbelievable. Quick release, great jump shot. Not a lot of blazing speed. Not a great leaper, but when you think about shooting the basketball, there's no question that he should be in that conversation. But as the greatest basketball player of all time, I wouldn't think so because of the multitude of things the other guys were able to do. Steph isn't the best defender. Steph is the best rebounder. He's a great passer. But the defensive end, he's lacking. Those other two guys you talk about, LeBron and Michael, they were great defenders.
Okay, and then the other thing that was brought up that I thought was interesting is guys who changed the game the most. And so they gave Wilt Chamberlain's example. They widened the lane. They changed the way you shot free throws. Like you couldn't leap from the free throw line and lay it in anymore. They banned the dunk for a minute. Like all those things. And then they said, the person said, so Wilt Chamberlain and Steph Curry, because if you look at the way the game is played now and the abundance of threes, like where guys are shooting from, the pioneer of all that was Steph Curry. Do you agree with that?
I don't know if he's a pioneer because there was a guy called Downtown Freddie Brown. There were guys who shot it in the ABA back in the time. But for efficiency, you definitely say that Steph is in that league by himself. Has he changed the game? I talked to his dad, Dale Curry, and I said, Dale, what do you think? I said, Steph Curry has destroyed the game the way I like to play it. And he said, a lot of shot takers, but not a lot of shot makers. So Steph Curry definitely has changed the game in a way that is unreal to me. When I see Kada under the rim with a layup or Luke under the rim with a layup and he throws it out to a three-point shooter, it absolutely drives me bonkers when I see that happen because I'd rather just have a 2 instead of a 3, but it works out with the analytics for some teams.
Do you find yourself like just not enjoying the game as much because of the way it's played now? Because that's a theory that a lot of people have for why the ratings are down.
No, I don't dislike the game. It's just I don't.
No, just as much as you did before. Like I didn't say did you dislike it. I said do you enjoy it less than you used to?
I think I enjoy the game still as much. I just don't understand the game the way I used to. Essentially when we see layups not taken. High percentage shots given away. I don't like that. From a skill standpoint, I look at Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum may be the best skilled Celtic ever. When you think about foot speed, getting towards the rim, length, all that kind of stuff. He would run circles around a guy like Larry Bird. But Larry Bird's competitive measures on that other side of being dominant, tough, knocking people on their asses, that is the difference between him and Tatum.
When you showed up last night, Max, and you sat down and you watched the Philadelphia 76ers, how many guys on that roster had you ever heard of or seen before?
Wow, John, way to call me out. That's nice. It's really, John is saying, let me tell you what John is saying. Max doesn't do a lot of homework when it comes to, and I really don't, because Tom Heinsohn told me one thing, the great Tom Heinsohn. He said, let the game come to you. And if you used to go out and if I give you 1,000 stats and I know everything that you know, John, then I'm not doing my job. As an analyst on the other side, I'm there to, just put a little pinch of salt, a little mustard, or whatever it might be on that flavor, that meat that you just cooked. So I don't know every guy over on the 76ers and don't care to know.
Can I tell you a story?
That's like me not knowing Sean from time to time would tell me, I will call our engineer. I will call him the engineer guy. And he'll say, you're not going to know his name. I said, no, the hell I'm not. He said, why? He said, because my mind at 60, 69 right now, I can't put trivial facts in my head that I'd only have to use one time a year. So I need to put my mind needs to wrap around other things. So no, I do not know every 76er and will never know every 76er.
So Mike Gorman is doing his first game with Tommy Heinsohn, and he shows up with all these notes, like this big stack of notes, and Heinsohn takes them and throws them. And he goes, and he said exactly what you just said. He's like, call the game. He's like, don't worry about all this crap.
Well, I mean, there's a difference. If you listen to our broadcast, Sean and I, the thing that Sean does, he radiates with all the different backs. Some of them, I don't even know what they are. And I'm sitting right there. No one does.
It's a waste of time.
He'll go, I love the one he uses when he says 2.1, this shot was taken and you get 2 percentages instead of 3 percentages. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I don't even know what it means. So there are stats that he gives out that I don't understand, but then a lot of stats of information he's able to give out that I understand. But that's his job. That's what he does well.
Is it?
I would like to ask Max 2 questions, and I would like the time to do it, please. Okay? Can I do that?
I can see the
Thank you. Thank you. Max, I'm a little closer than Fred is. Wallach's very close to being your age. What are the things that you have to devote mental energy to now that you didn't in the past? Yeah, and I believe you, and I back you in that. I'm not going to fill my head up with the names of all these people. I don't need to, because I need the headspace to. What does one need to think about at your age that you wouldn't need to think about, say, 10, 15 years ago?
Going down the damn steps. That's the first thing you think about.
You have to concentrate on it.
Steps in my house.
Okay.
And when I'm coming down the steps, sometimes I think I'm like a cross country skier as I'm coming down navigating.
Okay.
There are things you think about differently. Just getting up in the morning is a little different. The aches and pains that go along with it. There was one time when I would jump off a step onto another step, landing. Not anymore.
No.
So my mindset has changed on a lot of different things in my life, along with putting useful and unuseful information in my head.
I like it. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, you know Fred pretty well, so I'm going to give you a chance to guess, and you'll be right or wrong on this. Do you think Fred has changed his mind or backed down at all on his pushback on Peyton Pritchard after Pritchard's unbelievable performance the other night? As you know, throughout this season, Fred has been very standoffish and dismissive of Peyton Pritchard. Do you think Fred has changed at all on this point?
Fred has changed, but he will never let you know that, okay?
Wow, you know him real well. That's pretty good.
That is the best answer.
I'm going to concede now. All of a sudden, whoa, Peyton Pritchard is the next best thing coming. No, he's not going to do that. Most people who have an opinion about stuff, who are very opinionated, stick with that opinion. And then where they're wrong, they will gradually come to you. One day, he might say something nice about Pritchard. So that's how they get by with all those things about how he left. So, no, Fred would not immediately say that.
I don't like the white players. I mean, that's just the way I am.
There you go. Well, I wouldn't have been in the league if I hadn't liked the white players. Okay, so
well, you were a Celtic. I mean, you were a Celtic. You were put in that situation.
We had 4 guys who started were of color. We had one guy, Larry Bird, who was white, but everybody says I was on the white team, so I was pretty inside. Matter of fact, they're going to talk about that when we have this whole thing, this HBO 8-part series, which is coming up, which is going to be fantastic. Which John Wallach has already watched about 4 or 5 seconds.
I have not.
That is interesting because the whole thing was Boston was the white team and LA was the black team. And that's interesting. When you played, there were 4 black starters.
Well, that and also the fact that the Celtics have a black coach.
Right.
So the Celtics get no credit when it comes to that. It's just that we were a white team because we had Larry Bird, who started, Kevin McHale, and Danny Ainge. They had Kurt Rambis, they had some more guys over there, and they had a white coach, but they were identified as a black team. So go figure.
Were you aware of that at the time? Like, was that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it was pretty disgusting, but I understood that Black America was not cheering for the Boston Celtics. and that white America was cheering for the Boston Celtics. It was a Donald Trump thing before he got around.
So you think that nationally, white people like the Celtics more than the Lakers?
Yes. I would definitely say
See,
that.
I love the Lakers because the Lakers, when I was a little kid, Magic was from Michigan.
Well, Fred, you are a weirdo, so we don't take that in account. We move past that.
Well, all right. HR is going to get called now, Cedric. I don't know why you would have to say something like that along those lines.
I love HR.
Yeah. Big Bad Brains fan. That's absolutely. All right. You got anything?
I asked my 2 questions. I'm good.
All right, John, would you like to say something?
I got that 76er thing in, and I'm very happy I did because it took us off in a direction I didn't intend. So thank you.
John, you know what you're doing. When John comes to a game, John has what I call legendary saddlebags. That there are all kind of information in that he's going to try to throw in or squeeze in someplace during that particular game. And he'll look at me. I said, well, that was a nice saddlebag move. And he'll look at me going, I had to get that in because I worked on it all day long. Sometimes, John, it does not fit. You just throw it in there.
Yeah,
it's like,
okay.
I wanted to tell Sean sometimes that doesn't fit what we're doing right now.
All right, let's play a game because you mentioned Sean Grandy. All right, okay. I'm going to play you a question that Sean Grandy asked Joe Mazzulla.
Okay.
And you're going to have to – this is not making fun of Sean, so don't worry about it. So, and you're just
sure?
I swear to God, it's not making fun of him. He doesn't make a mistake or anything.
Okay.
And you just have to tell me why he's making this reference. Here we go.
Here is Sean Grandy with the coach.
All right, Joe Morey, thank you. Kids, don't try this at home, especially at the start of a conversation. I'm a highly trained professional and deeply skilled, but I'm going to make an analogy between Ali Frazier and something I saw Al do on Sunday against Jokic. In the iconic first fight, Joe Frazier knocks Ali down with his left hook in the 15th round. Ali always said in his younger days he would have slipped it, but even though he saw it coming, his brain just couldn't get the message to his legs in time.
All right, what did Al Horford do in the Denver game that reminded Sean Grandy of the punch he took in the Ali Frazier fight?
I have no freaking idea. I was sitting there.
Oh, come on. You were Cedric, you don't know? Well, it's this.
There was a play in the second half Sunday where Jokic, who was clearly, as he always is, playing 2 steps ahead, threw the skip pass to what should have been an open shooter. Al not only has the brain to read it, he somehow still has the legs to make that play, and he was doing that all day.
Remember that?
No, I don't. And Fred, let me just say this. Once a game ends, my mind normally shuts off about all the other things.
Cedric,
sometimes, John, you love this.
It's ludicrous.
John, here's my favorite part, John. This is what I'll do sometimes. John, this is how prepared I am. Sometimes I'll get to the game, John, and I won't know who we're playing until I go out to the floor. It's like, oh, that's what we're playing today.
What city am I in?
Well, I have to call you into question as an expert analyst if you don't remember the skip pass that Jokic threw that Al got over.
Pass that he made. Well, I'm not an expert analyst. I won't take offense then if that's the case. Sean,
well, he defied his age. He got over to where the skip pass went, just like Ali couldn't do in the Frazier fight. You don't know that?
I don't quite remember what it was, and that's why I never listen to Sean and the coach when they have their question and answer period, because normally it's over my head. It's over my pay grade. I'm sorry. My bad.
Well, that means that the audience is completely tuned into what's going on.
They are sometimes, as John likes to say, they are clueless. Yes. And sometimes we are clueless. And then we'll have a aha moment 2 or 3 days later about something that Sean might have said.
The finals MVP is sitting next to him saying, I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, I don't even – we played Denver?
I got nothing.
But I like the fact that you know yourself well enough, Max, to know that, you know what, whatever did happen in that game, I got to turn it off and not think about it, because now I got to think about how I'm going to carefully crawl into the car and get myself into this seat without injuring myself after the game.
That's a good one. That's why I have – like the big car. I don't have that mini little one I have to scoot down in, and then I get that noise that my father used to make when he gets up. You think somebody's fighting in the room? No. So that's why I do that.
Yeah.
All right, Cedric. Well, great to talk to you as always. Have fun, and we'll talk to you next week.
Well, I'll see if I can find out what the damn skip pass was. All right, I'll do that.
Please investigate that. The audience is on pins and needles. All right, thank you, Cedric.
Thanks, Max.
All right, gentlemen.
All right, there you go. With the great Cedric Maxwell. I can't get enough of that question.
Really?
I noticed that didn't get deleted out of the Vox Pro.
Oddly enough, that's hung around.
Yeah, that one stayed in there.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to play old YouTube clips. I thought I might play that again.
And you were right.
Yeah,
Seems to
and
be
I
a
was
double
correct.
standard, Hardy. I think you're right about that.
It's not. No, it's just it's a standard.
all right.
Not a
I
double
get it.
standard,
It's just a standard.
Yes.
Okay.
Look, man, I made a mistake. All right? Like, got rid of something you wanted. I didn't think we were going to use it again. What do you want out of me? All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy.
inconsistent. So there's flaws all over this thing. And Ryan Johnson, who's about to join us, makes the point that, sure, they said that Bobby could keep the picture of his mom, but they never said she's dead. He just said you could keep the picture.
Yeah, but come on.
Look, man, I play black and white. I don't play grays.
You can never see her again. She lives right down the street, but you can
never
keep
see her
the
again.
picture. No, that's not it.
She's in
She's
jail.
dead. She's
in jail.
Dead.
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 She's out protesting the war. She's an enemy of the government. And someone says Ben Vereen was Will's father in The Fresh Prince and actually abandons him in the episode. That was Ben Vereen's kind of job.
I remember that.
And this is very interesting because I don't know any of this, and I know my sitcoms. Happy Days had 2 more spinoffs. This is other than
I
the
saw
3
this.
that we mentioned. Blansky's Beauties.
What the
and
hell?
Out of the Blue.
What was the second one?
Out of the Blue.
Okay.
He unbelievably wore the same outfit as in her Happy Days episodes.
Well, she would tie off the pink to, like, she would take the shirt and, like, fold it over and do it. What was the problem with Leather Tuscadero on set? Does anyone remember?
Yeah, she smelled terrible.
She smelled.
Yeah.
Yeah, she stunk.
Out of the Blue apparently was a Mork and Mindy crossover, and the debate is heated surrounding its status as a spinoff of Happy Days because of that.
Did they ever appear on Happy Days?
Series stars Jimmy Brogan as Random, an angel in training who's assigned to live with and act as a guardian angel for a suburban Chicago family.
No.
Then
I would even say it's not a spinoff of the
Mork and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy, because that was in Denver.
This is the thing.
Or Boulder. Boulder, sorry.
Yeah. Easy. Before you start getting more emails.
Do you remember the spinoff of the Brady Bunch?
No.
With all the adopted kids? This is true. There was an episode where all these adopted kids were at the Brady house, and then they spun off the show, and it was going to be this I can't remember if it's a man or a woman with this menagerie of different races and origin adopted kids.
Don't
and
remember that. No.
Well, strange.
Okay.
Some of us do. You're out there watching those Celtics games like something's going to come down the pipe.
What was the name of the show, or did it not become a show?
I think there was one show. Let me look. I will look it up. This is big stuff. Give me a moment.
I also see here that someone is pushing back on Mork and Mindy not really being a spinoff either because it was set so much later, but you can make a case. You can make a case. They just took the character. It's not a traditional spinoff in the
Kelly's
sense where
Kids.
Mork for Mork.
Wow.
Kelly's Kids. This was a proposed spinoff that airs as part of the Brady Bunch.
Days.
Shut up. Shush. This is a proposed spinoff that aired as part of the Brady Bunch's final season. The idea was that Ken and Kathy Kelly, Ken Berry, and Brooke Bundy, who we know went off to sell shoes, friends of Mike and Carol Brady, adopted 3 orphan boys from different racial backgrounds.
I remember that episode.
On the show would have followed the challenges of that. And I can't believe anything weird would have happened because there's an Asian kid, a white kid, and a black kid. And I don't think there was been anything that would have been problematic today, that any of the issues that they went with.
Hijinks.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the problem. The problem is twofold, Wallach. Mork from Mork, as we all remember, aged backwards.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And he did a ton of coke.
So if it were a true spinoff and set later on in the 70s, he should have appeared much younger.
Time travel, my friend. Time travel. That's all it is.
Now you're just making
advanced
stuff up.
technology. You don't think that's on the table there?
He didn't.
Come on.
So he left Earth and then came back?
Yes. That's
Okay.
exactly what happened. He said he was from the future.
Go back. Happy Days is on streaming. Go watch the episode where Mork appears, and you tell me how much thought went into it.
There was no thought.
You're creating a whole backstory.
No, he said, I'm from the future, and Fawn said, all I want to know about is cars and girls. And Mork looks at him and says, in the future, both are faster.
Okay, so are you trying to say right now that time travel actually makes you older? Because it's the opposite. Watch Interstellar, idiot.
What was the name of the girl that Steve Sanders went after that turned out to be a man?
Oh, that was Elle.
Thank you. John has proven his superiority to you. Ryan Johnston and Kendra Middleton.
Oh, that goes without saying. That's fine.
This is actually going to bother him.
That's a big L for the day.
Have a seat.
All right, Laverne. That's right. You're Laverne. I got the big L for the day. There's no doubt about it. I am ashamed of my not knowing that Brady Bunch thing.
And we're going to have Ryan on. Ryan did me a big solid last night.
All right.
Explain when we come back.
Listen, Ryan, got turned off the car while John was in the garage with the doors shut. All right. Well, look, we will be back with Ryan Johnson and Kendra Middleton in just a moment.
Sylvan Street Grill and PB when Bruins.
Players on the second night of a back-to-back. They still blew out Philadelphia 123-105. Jason Tatum, a game-high 35 points. The Greens sweep that back-to-back. Derek White's team will now play the Lakers at the Garden tomorrow night.
I mean, watching the documentary or the first episode, you kind of see like the beginning of it, and it's just pretty cool to be a part of it, and along a lot of great teams on both sides and great players. So Saturday will be no different, and it's going to be a fun one.
White actually lost a tooth in the second quarter, but started the third, said he'll be good to go for the Lakers game. And last but not least, the Red Sox lost to Toronto yesterday, 7-4 in Dunedin, Florida. They play the Miami Marlins in Fort Myers today. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Prime Rib Dinner at the 99. Available every Friday after 4 p.m. and all day Saturday and Sunday. 16 ounces of slow-roasted USDA choice prime rib with 2 sides. You gotta love the nines. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
Here we go.
Boom. I win. Boom. Yeah.
It's so funny.
We've got a passion for Boston sports.
Get angry.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Toucher and Hardy.
Such an fantastic explosion.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
This time of year sucks, especially when you're in the position we're in. But, at the end of the day, that's the reality of the business. And it sucks when you're getting rid of guys that are like family
across
and
the
been here for a while. And,
he brought his pain and misery.
Be nice. We'll get through that. However, we
not
end
run
up
to the
through
hills.
Everything, and the group we'll have then is going to be the group that we'll get the job done and just keep
All right,
going.
For everything.
They're comedically bad.
I look. I'm not telling you I get it. I'm just telling you it's one of the things that we're all supposed to like, and we're all supposed to have massive respect for it. Correct, 12?
Yes, we are. I'm neither here nor there.
New Order,
some of their
understand
songs.
more
I love
than
New
Joy
Order.
Joy
I
Division.
listen. Well, let me put it. What does it all boil down to? Right? What do you listen to? I listen to New Order way more than I would ever listen to Joy Division.
But Joy Division would be a non-starter if Ian Curtis hadn't killed himself.
I agree with that.
As Sublime would not have been a popular
You beat me
band.
to it. Yep.
All right, Kendra Middleton is here. Hi, Kendra.
Hello, friends.
Remind me to tell you something during the next break, because right now, by the way, if you ever thought Hardy couldn't be annoying, him and Kendra are all about this frog song. And off the air, they were jabbering about this frog song, which was very annoying.
Who's Kendra brought to us by, Fred?
Thank you. Kendra is brought to us by DraftKings
Thank you.
Sportsbook.
Stop doing that. Stop it.
You still like this?
It's only 25 more seconds.
I've been playing this on YouTube so much, it's embarrassing.
Okay, if you're going to do it, keep doing it till the end of the song. There you go.
What about this do you enjoy?
It's so good. It just I don't know what about it. There is just a certain amount of serotonin that is induced in my brain when I hear this.
Serotonin comes from your stomach. All right, here
That's
we
a
go.
great fact. Thank you.
Oh, if you want to know about how the pleasure chemicals are released, my dear, I'm here for you.
I get more questions, or I have received more questions about my text relationship with Daniel over the last week or two than
your Twitter support. We do not know if she died.
Dead.
Well,
dead.
Well, I mean, that's the way your guys' brains work. Ryan and I are optimists. We're just hoping it was, she joined a cult. All right. So, Ryan, how do you feel about the deals that have been made so far? Are you surprised at the quality of return?
Not as much if you just look around the league at some of the deals that have been made so far ahead of the deadline. Teams are getting really good offers. There's a lot of teams that I think, feel like they have a shot of making a deep run in the playoffs and going for the cup. And so they're willing to pay premium prices. And so, you listen, Trent Frederick's name had been tossed around all season long. If the Bruins weren't going to get him signed up for the deadline, I expected that he would fetch a pretty good price, and he did, even with the injury. And then, Brazo last night, I thought, gets a pretty good haul in return. You get two guys who are, interesting. We know what Jacob Lauko is, because of his time in Boston and what he can bring to your bottom six. This guy, Husnudinov, is still kind of an unknown a little bit at the NHL level. He's only been in North America for about a year, got a decent run with Minnesota, has some good speed, but who knows where the projections might take him in future years as he grows into himself a little bit. And they get a draft pick out of it as well. And so, I think, when you look around the league and see the returns that guys are fetching, look at what the Islanders got for Brock Nelson last night. It was a haul, a great prospect, a first-round pick. Teams are really coming to the table with big offers because there's such an arms race going on right now.
All right, so if Edmonton, Las Vegas, and Colorado all want Marchand, these big returns have already been happening. The Bruins, because it's been reported, 3 teams are all in on Marchand, and just the way the free market works, if there's that kind of demand, the price is going to get higher and higher. Do you? Because I won't put you in the position of asking if you think he's going to get traded. But what do you think you could get in return for Marchand, given what the return has been for these other guys?
Yeah, from the perspective of Colorado, I'm going to assume they were the ones who got Brock Nelson late last night, so I'm going to assume they're probably out of it at this point. But who knows? But if it's a team like Edmonton, there's a lot of teams, particularly out west. I saw the report last night from TSN that they kind of the feeling around the league is that Marchand might get dealt to the Western Conference today. But I think you'd be looking at it obviously needs to be a first round pick plus, and a good prospect, multiple picks, an NHL caliber player. It's going to have to be a lot for the Bruins, I think, to cut ties with him, because I don't think, it puts you into a situation where you're looking to rebuild over 3-4 years. It's, they're going to be looking to do it, I think, a lot faster than that. But it makes the announcement that the era that included Chara and Bergeron and Krejci and all of them is officially over, and you've moved on. And that's a big statement for this management to make if they go in that direction. Especially since Marchand's been candid that he doesn't want to leave. But, they haven't been able to get to a contract extension. Doesn't mean that they won't before 3:00 today. I saw Elliot Friedman posted, I think, around 3:00 this morning that, he's kind of the mind that, there's a legitimate chance that Marchand might go today. But he kind of couched that by saying one phone call can change it all. And, if Marchand comes back to the team today and says, I really don't want to leave, and maybe lowers his ask, or the team says, we really don't want to do this, we'd like to keep him around and keep that culture going and what he brings to the table, maybe they do come to a deal. But I think it probably ends up going right down to the wire today.
Last year's trade deadline was a little bit of a dud, in my opinion. How much do you think the cap going up might influence the Bruins and who they're willing to, get rid of, just in case some of these teams are thinking about being able to sign guys with all of this extra money that they're going to have next year?
Yeah, I think that influences everybody. And maybe that's why we're seeing teams take the swings that they are and be willing to maybe bring in these rentals and think that they can extend them because they're going to have extra money on the cap. The one guy that affects the most, it would seem, is Mikko Rantanen, who we just saw in Carolina last night. And I tell you, we went on the air last night. About 2 minutes before we went on the air, we were talking up in the press box with a few people, and nobody even knew if he was going to play last night because there were rumors flying around in the building that they were going to sit him at the last minute because they were working on a deal. Turned out he played, and then afterwards, on the plane, we saw the report that the Dallas Stars are apparently all in on him. And then overnight, they tried to work out a contract extension, and the report this morning was that hasn't worked. I've seen reports that Rantanen might be asking for $14 million a year for 8 years,
and LA too. I heard he wants LA.
Well, that was one of them. Dallas, has no income tax, state income tax, so you would think that would be a draw to get him down there. But apparently, I don't know that anybody's going to pay that much for him. He's a great player, but $14 million, even under an expanded salary cap, feels like an awful lot of money to devote to him, especially given the fact that when he left Carolina, or when he left Colorado and he goes to Carolina, and Carolina gave up a massive package in that trade, he hasn't fit in all that well. He didn't play well last night. He and Aho don't seem to be on the same page at all, and you would think they'd be a natural fit together. And so if I'm another team and I'm saying, if I'm going to commit to a guy 8 years and 12, 13, $14 million, I got to know that he's going to be the star that he was in Colorado without playing alongside McKinnon, without playing with Cale Makar. And, and so far he hasn't really shown that in Carolina. I think he's got, 8 points, 2 goals in 13 games. That's not what they were hoping for. And I think it tells you something that Carolina, A, hasn't been able to get to a contract with him, and B, seems willing to deal him after they gave up all of that capital to get him less than a month and a half ago.
Is Marchand the only really big move left for this team to make? I'm talking about the Bruins. Or might we see something else today before the deadline, Ryan?
Well, that's the other thing is, you look at as far as free agents go, yeah, I mean, he certainly is the big fish for the Bruins if they are dangling him out there, or if other teams are calling and they're willing to engage. But, if I'm another team and, I don't want to see some of these guys go, but, if I'm another team, I know that the center market isn't particularly solid right now. There's not a lot of great options out there. So our team's calling on a guy like Charlie Coyle to come in and be he's got a year left on his contract, to come in and be your, a really good third line center on a playoff caliber team. We know he can do that. Or a guy like Brandon Carlo, a top 4 defensive defenseman. We know that, what he can do. And again, has term left on his deal. Those are 2 guys that I would, imagine the Bruins are getting calls on. Now, whether they're engaging those calls or not, whether they would be willing to make those deals, I think right now, given the state of the team and the turn that it has taken here in the past few weeks and kind of where they're at and some of Don Sweeney's comments, I think you take all those calls, and if a team really blows you away, then you have to consider it. But I think either one of those guys that I just mentioned, it would take a really good offer for the Bruins to move on, because you're potentially creating another hole that's going to have to be filled here fairly soon to try and get this thing turned around.
Well, they got Elias Lindholm. He can play.
Oh, sure, yeah.
All right. What's the vibe like? Can you tell a difference around the team, given that today's the trade deadline? Like when you were around them yesterday and stuff, can you sense like everyone's on edge a little bit?
I wouldn't say on edge. I mean, everybody's certainly aware of it. They're getting asked about it all the time. It's impossible to ignore. They'll all tell you the same thing. Oh, you try not to think about it. You just think about the game and all of that. But, when you're away from the ice, I don't know how you don't think about it if you're one of those guys that's on the table, or even if you're not, because every deal affects everyone else in the room, whether it be for the rest of this season or their spot with the organization going forward. Maybe if this guy gets dealt, or if you trade for another guy who comes in, maybe he's going to take your spot. It's part of the game. It's part of the business. I think they all understand that, and they've been through it year after year after year. Now, the guys who have been here in Boston haven't necessarily been in this position before, where the team is a seller at the deadline instead of a buyer. And so it's a little bit of a different feeling from that regard. But I think, to a man, if you ask around the NHL, there's probably everybody would tell you in a moment of confidence, I can't wait for 3:01 this afternoon, so I know where I'm going to be for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's got to be weird to know that you could be going, to Vancouver. Like, you know what
Trent
I'm saying?
Frederick. Here's a trip from Boston to Edmonton. Enjoy.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm sorry, Kendra. We're out of time.
That's fine.
Okay, I thought you would.
I was going to ask. I was going to prod one more quick thing. I know that you're on Bruins Twitter in the same way that I am. It's very split over whether people think that Pasta should be able to, move on and make a career somewhere else, or if people think that he should stay just because he is, obviously such a talent. Do you think he's untouchable today?
100%.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, yeah.
This guy has been one of the most valuable players in the league.
Well, he'd be a Hart Trophy candidate if the team didn't suck. Yeah.
In fact, Beersy mentioned it last night on the broadcast. He went and looked up through every team. There is no team in the league whose leading scorer has more points than the second leading scorer in a bigger margin than David Pastrnak. He's 31 points ahead of the next highest scorer, which is Brad Marchand. I can't even fathom where this team would be without the way that Pastrnak has played in the last 2 months. That is a guy, on a team that has been sinking here recently, has been a massive bright spot. There's not a chance in hell they would let him out.
And plus, he's on such a favorable contract now, given the way the league is going. So,
absolutely. We're talking about Rantanen getting potentially $14 million. How good does Pasternak's contract look right now?
Yeah. So there you go.
People are losing their minds over it, though.
Well, it's weird that I don't know why they're even considering that. It seems like there's two untouchables based on talent and one untouchable based on contract. Is that it's McAvoy and Pastrnak, and then Swayman. You could never trade if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Listen, Ryan, awesome job. I listen to you all the time, and I'm sorry that this team, and you have to learn all these new names all the time.
Yes, thanks for the heads up on the Huston-Dinoff last night. I wouldn't have gotten that in a million years.
And you called the broken stick, and TV didn't. So there you go. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
for the time.
in the moment, I appreciated that this morning. Thank you, Ryan.
That thing just fell apart. Could not believe it. I mean, it's just that is some of the worst luck I've ever seen. Bruins actually outplayed Carolina last night, and that's how the game ended. It's just the bad luck with this team just does not stop.
Well, at least he didn't leave him sitting on the fence right around this time about, I don't know, we're 2 points out. All right, Ryan, thank you so much for the time, sir.
Good to talk to you guys.
It's always good, Ryan. We love Ryan, and we love Kendra. Kendra is going to stay, and we are going to talk to her in just a moment.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
College basketball is reaching its most exciting stretch of the season right now. New customers on Fan.
What? Introducing Phantom of the Dark. Walk through my heaven with levitation from reefers, drenching defense and each seven. Showboating with Rugers.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. Kendra's here. Let's bring in Nicholas if we could real quick because I like when Nicholas tells the story. So we're bringing in Nicholas, and that means
It really fits his walk.
He'll be here in a minute.
Perfect.
He'll be here in a second. Don't you worry.
Everyone
Yeah, I
calm
need that
down.
chair there, pal.
Here we go. You want to sit next to me, Bestie? Bring it in.
There he is. Hi,
Hey,
Nick.
guys.
Hi, Nick.
Wow, you like hit the post.
Right on the nose. Nice
How
job.
long is that clip, by the way?
29 seconds.
Good for you,
To
Nick.
walk 30 feet.
All right, so Kendra does a show on Saturday mornings. It's called Hey Everybody, Let's
I know lots about gambling. Yes.
Yeah. Hey Everybody, Let's Gamble.
I'm wicked smart.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's featured. It features many degenerates. But so Kendra does it with Dan Lifshitz. So this is. You don't listen to the show, right?
I told you I listened to the 9 o'clock
Okay.
hour when I walk my dog.
So you'll like this because it's social media.
I have kept up with all of the drama this week. Don't you worry.
Okay, so I had a guy that was randomly. Yeah.
This man has also harassed me. Yes.
Okay. Oh,
interesting.
Another nugget.
Wow.
So now Nick is uncomfortable with this. I mean,
No.
If it's happening, it's happening.
I'll look. Can you show me the screen?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is the same guy that I. Can you give me his handle again?
Yeah, say that here now.
Maybe you write that down.
Give me a second.
Okay, so what happened is that while you're doing that, Nick, I was getting like. I put up a picture of me. They tell us to at the Celtics game. It was a Celtics game, and they use social media.
Right.
My son didn't want to be in it, so I put a picture up. Whatever, it's me. And so like you figure like, oh, you're ugly, you're a piece of crap, like da da da. But there was a guy who's like, "F you piece of ass."
Right.
And then I go, wait a second.
That seemed a little odd.
No, it's just odd. Like it's
Yeah.
not like it's not like an insult. It's just a venom. And then I realized, hey, this guy does this a lot. So I went and looked, and we were both mutually following Nick. And so I asked Nick, I go, do you know this guy? And Nick goes, yeah, he's a groomsman in my wedding. He goes, let me text him. I go, dude, don't text him. I'm like, it's just funny to me. Like it's interesting to know. Well, then, Nick, while you're looking for this real quick, I need you on the air.
Yeah.
Tell Kendra he went after who else?
What's that?
Who else did your friend go after on Twitter?
Oh, Dan Lifshitz.
All right, and what happened when he went after Dan Lifshitz?
Well, he said something to Dan Lifshitz apparently about his family, and Dan Lifshitz reached out to me and Tucker were like, who's this guy? You guys follow each other, blah, blah, blah. I know people in Providence that will take care you better give me his contact information.
Now, Kendra, that puts you in a very uncomfortable situation. Are there thugs and bullies from Providence while you are doing your show on Saturday mornings?
Dan and I have actually talked about the difference between Providence and Jacksonville as far as...
Is Dan connected? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, he did go to school down there.
Yeah, the kids at Brown are pretty much mafioso.
Those RISD kids, you got to be very careful.
Dan didn't go to Brown. Am my hair color showing? Is that the joke?
Not all schools in Rhode Island
The
are.
joke is that Dan is saying he's connected to organized crime.
Yes.
In Providence.
Yes.
You said then he went to school there, which is really not a connection. So I took it a step further by saying the Ivy League school Brown.
I wouldn't put it past Dan to have like mob connections, to be honest.
That would do his bidding?
Yeah.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. No,
is that true?
Yeah.
Is he made?
Is he a made man? Well, he's not Italian.
Yeah, he's a friend of ours.
But Dan's got
friend of mine, friend of ours.
Dan's got old money though. Like Dan can make stuff happen.
You're saying his parents are wealthy.
Yeah, and so is Dan. He can make stuff happen. I
Well,
would
his
not put
parents-
it past Dan.
All right, but there's a difference. You're saying that Dan is involved in a criminal empire.
I'm not. I didn't say anything. First rule of
Okay.
Fight Club. I didn't say anything.
Why?
See, that old school waspy money, that can get you stuff like snuff films made. But I don't know if it can actually get a hit done.
You can't tell me you would run your mouth the same way that Dan does if you didn't have connections.
I don't know if I'd be on Twitter till 2 a.m, regardless.
But
of
you
my
get my
connections.
point. Would you run your mouth like Dan does if you didn't have connections?
No.
Thank you. Would you?
I wouldn't run my mouth like that to begin with. I don't understand why.
I think
you
it's
gotta
lack
puff
of
your chest out.
I think it's lack of connections between the neurons in his brain that are causing him to react like that. Is it the same guy? Is this guy coming
I
after you
can't
too?
see because of the new Twitter update. You can't click the DM thing anymore.
Okay.
It's not.
I'm not seeing any.
He didn't
tweets
at me,
to-
but because of the new thing, you can't click message to see who has messaged you without following each other. So I can't see.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's not as fun, but
it's pulling up. No.
Okay.
Nothing for
All
me
right.
at least.
Well, Kendrick, he likes you. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Why? I wonder why. Did you ever figure out what his beef was with you?
Well, I figured like maybe because he was such good friends with Nick, like I got drunk or something when I was out with Nick and like did something to him, but I've never met him. Like I've
He
never
came
even
after
met him.
Fred as a way to back his buddy Nick.
And I
It was,
don't-
in his wedding.
But the thing is that I don't think Nick goes around complaining about me to his friends all the time. Like certainly now. I mean, he probably did, at BCN, but I can't imagine Nick is running around complaining about me.
I did not. I haven't.
No,
Not for a very long time.
No, I know. Why would you? No, he did. I used to be a total dick to him, but I haven't. I've actually been very supportive of young Nicholas.
Yes, he was.
Any other workspace? Could you imagine if a guy in your wedding party went and harassed like your boss, for lack of a better term?
I can't believe he did it. I can't.
Don't get mad.
No, I'm not mad at you. I'm
no.
mad at him.
I know you're not mad at me. I don't want you to be mad at your friend. I've expressed this off the air when it first started. I think it's interesting.
At the time, initially, I was like, what the hell is he thinking?
And then what did I tell you? I said, don't do anything. I said, don't say anything to him.
Help me calm down by still texting him. I was like, what are you doing?
Because
he did anyway, and he said,
Thank you for being a friend.
Have you let him call in?
No, I don't really want to deal with it. But like, I'll tell you this because it is interesting because you never know who the person is behind. Again, this was odd because it wasn't an insult. It was just vitriol. And so that's why it stood out. And it is interesting to find like kind of who the guy is because it's always anonymous people, right? Like, and you don't know them and you never did anything personally to him. So it is interesting to find out the guy's got a job. He's got 3 kids. He's married. Like,
He has
it's
3
interesting.
kids? I didn't hear that
3
part.
kids,
Yeah.
Wow.
But a lot of times people that are like the cruelest have like girl dad.
Oh,
Like in their
girl
bio.
dad, they have like a follower of Christ or like a Bible verse or some crap like that. Like it's always those people.
Yeah, there was one the other day that was like, it was like something that was obviously to lure women into what a good guy he was. And I'm like, oh no, that's not the case. It wasn't your friend. All right. Well, thank you.
Well, he said he was looking for attention or a reaction, and he got it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a victory.
Yeah. There you go.
I don't know. Again, if take radio out of it. If like you found like a musician or someone that you liked, the chances of you getting a reaction by going, look, I'm so appreciative of your work. Like that song 3 on your 4th album really meant to me this much to me when I was going through this certain thing. Your chances of getting like a actual dialogue going are 1,000 times greater. Like, so if you're looking just to get attention, a way to get attention, forget radio people, we're scum. I know. I live in your neighborhood. We're believe me, you can see me at Wegmans. But like for like, if you go, you're like, people like to be complimented. People like to hear that their work is appreciated. So this whole notion of like going after your favorite comedian, right? Like on Twitter and going, so you'll get a reaction seems odd to me. Why wouldn't you just go like Mark Norman, dude? I saw you at the Funny Bone in Las Vegas, and it was like the greatest show I've ever seen. I never couldn't stop laughing. I've told all my friends. That, like, he wants to hear that. That's nice stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Can I compliment Nicholas? I went in to his desk this morning, and I looked under with a flashlight, and there was not a singular piece of gum stuck under that desk back there. So he does deserve a round of applause.
That's because that Gimpy pays. His head rubs it all off. All right, so listen. There is gambling, and that's why we're here. Are we not?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you hear what I'm doing? I'm betting Michigan State when they're down at the half.
I don't hate that.
Can Nick leave because he's
Yeah.
sitting really close to me, and I don't.
All right, Nick, you can leave. We won't play the trombone. All right.
I think we should.
I don't think it's fair when he's leaving.
That's the leaving theme. There's the coming and the going theme.
I know.
Two different themes.
You
All right.
forget this has 12 as a vested interest of that.
That's right.
Well, I'd love that 12 plays the trombone. It's added so much. All right, so Kendra, college basketball. Have you been betting on college basketball?
Yes, I have. College basketball, I would say, I gave out what I thought people should be looking at a couple weeks ago on this show, but as a reminder, obviously, conference tournaments are about to start and stuff like that. I think that there are certain teams who prices will get better on. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I thought that people should get in on Houston early. I'm now saying people should get in on Tennessee early. If you're looking at, Auburn to make a Final Four, definitely wait because I think that their price is going to get a little bit better. If the season ends today, tomorrow, and Sunday, so we'll have a better idea of who will be where. But I think Tennessee is a good price now. If you can get Houston at a good Final Four
Do you like
price.
Tennessee?
I just think Tennessee is playing really good basketball at the right time, to be honest. And there's such a big drop-off between the top teams in college basketball right now, that top 4, 5, 6 kind of teams, and then the rest of the field. So I would say getting good prices on a Final Four for some, obviously Duke is not going to be a good price right now. Auburn's not going to be a good price right now. Houston had a decent price this week. I would say Tennessee probably did before last weekend, still probably not terrible. And then Alabama, Florida probably still has a good price. Those are my top teams. I think there is no way that anybody but one of those teams wins this year.
I disagree, and wins the championship maybe, but I've said since November, this Michigan State team with Izzo. I'm not kidding. I never say this. I'm being dead serious. They roll out like 4 7-footers, like corn-fed kids, big old boys, and then they got that Jace Richardson, who could be a first-round pick in the draft. He won't come out, but they win. They're not good from three. They're a great rebounding team, and they're incredible defensively. And Kendra, that's how you win it in the tournament.
Michigan State NCAA tournament winner right now. Obviously, you can't. There's no Massachusetts schools in this. There's obviously not going to be a Massachusetts school ahead of them.
Can't bet on BC?
You can't bet on Massachusetts schools in Massachusetts.
Well, then why even do it?
It's plus 25,000 right now. 2,500. Sorry, I'm blind.
Yeah, 25,000 would be a lot.
Yeah, sorry, I'm blind. 2,500. So 25 to 1 odds. I don't think
they're going to win the championship, but I do think they'll go into the Final Four.
But they're behind they're the seventh team behind all 6 of those teams that I just named. And so I just, like I said, I think that there's such a big drop off there. Those 6 teams are the best 6 teams in basketball. I think that there is a significant drop off with Michigan State. Iowa State's after them, St. John's, and Texas Tech.
Duke is 3 freshmen. The coaching, there's a huge coaching advantage with other schools in Duke.
If you want some good value, Michigan State to make a Final Four is plus 500 right now. That would be, if you're really thinking that one of these top 6 teams is going to, fumble in the tournament, I could see one of these.
Well, they will.
I want better odds than that.
I do too.
Well, because it's too late. Because everyone agrees with me.
But I could see one of these SEC teams maybe, get it. The SEC is so tough.
Tennessee just lost.
But here's what I was going to say.
Mississippi State.
The SEC is a basketball conference like we've never seen from them. So they're going to beat up on each other in this tournament. So if that happens or one of these big players gets hurt, this is the best value you're going to get on Michigan State. So if that's what you're looking for, I don't hate the play. I just think that from those 6 teams down, there is a significant drop-off, and it's not close to me.
Okay. We'll see.
Also, I wanted to throw out there what I came for today is start looking at the NFL draft. These free agency stuff, these moves that start going, you're not going to get better value on some of these guys. What I would look at is certain players to go specific places, specifically Travis Hunter. If you think that the Giants are going to trade up and take a quarterback with all this Cam Ward crap going on, with Abdul Carter's injury, there are some really, really good prices on where Travis Hunter could go. I mentioned last week I'm in a little bit of a slump, but that's where you're going to be finding your value right now.
Why do you think Tennessee would trade that pick?
I feel maybe because they wouldn't have to trade that far out of it. It's not that deep of a draft, and maybe their mind's not made up on Will Levis.
Oh, really?
I mean, I personally, my mind is made up on Will Levis.
Everybody's mind should be made up on Will Levis by now.
That coach is not kind. Is Callahan the coach over there? What's the name of the coach over there? Anyway, he verbally abuses that young man on the sidelines. I'll tell you.
Brian Callahan, yeah. I mean,
Brian Callahan.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that I just, You got to give the kid enough time. Some people think it's enough time. Maybe there's a discrepancy between ownership and the coaching. I don't know. It depends what they get back for it. I don't think that I personally, if I had to pick a quarterback in this draft, I'm not going for Cam Ward and I'm not going for Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to trade back. I think Jackson Dart had an awesome combine.
No, he did. I mean, Jackson Dart.
And I've been on the Jackson Dart train, and that's my guy. I'm sticking to it.
Did any of you guys see the kid from Ohio State throw at the combine?
I did not.
Look it up.
Okay.
It's.
But nobody expects Will Howard to be.
No, you know what they said? One of the scouts. He said, I give him credit for coming. Watch Will Howard throw.
Max Brosmer from Minnesota, who used to be at UNH, is going to be a better probably prospect than Will Howard.
No,
opinion.
the only reason I bring it up is that he is like visibly terrible throwing to receivers in shorts. Like he can't hit anyone. Like he's throwing well over their heads. And he was the quarterback at Ohio State, which is interesting. That someone that in that environment is so terrible.
Yeah.
Could have been the quarterback at Ohio State.
I was talking to Barth, and we both kind of think that the ceiling for Cam Ward is going to be the Deshaun Watson hot start of your career and then really decline.
Barth liked Penix the most out of all the quarterbacks in last year's draft. So, Barth.
Why? We haven't even seen that much of him. I was a Bo Nix girl last year.
All right. Doesn't matter. Well, that was smart. Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback out of that draft class. It's over.
Yeah, but we knew that he'd be
Barth
the best.
thought Penix was.
Oh, see, I thought that I had Jaden Daniels Rookie of the Year odds just because I thought that he was the most NFL ready. That I don't know what it is about me and a Rookie of the Year future, but I had Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels last year. I think Jackson Dart's going to be the best out of this class. I really don't understand what people see in Cam Ward.
Well, I think that Jackson Dart's going to be a first-round pick. I think he could get taken before Shedeur Sanders, too. Because now the Giants are starting to say they like Shedeur Sanders, which makes me think they have literally no interest in him.
I think it would be hilarious if Shedeur Sanders fell out of the first round and he was sitting
There's
there.
no way.
You'd be surprised.
I think
no one thought
hilarious.
Desmond Ridder was going to go as late as he did.
Jackson Dart gets taken near the top of round 2, and there's Shedeur just sitting there with that smile and a baseball cap on sideways. Be fantastic.
I don't know why you hate the kid so much.
I'm going to be taking Jackson Dart in the first round when I can get odds on where he might fall for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Jackson Dart gets taken in the first round. All right, Kendra, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Enjoy Canada. She is going out to Calgary to go get a job at Twin Peaks. Thank you so much for coming out here. We appreciate it. Everyone.
Yeah, because Hooters is going bankrupt.
That's right.
Money, baby.
That's right. And then it's Jacksonville Morons. All right. So how do people find you on social media?
My mom and I used to spend Thanksgiving at Hooters together because it was the only thing open. You can follow me on Twitter.
I thought you were white trash.
Hooters for Thanksgiving?
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Hey, Hooters has really good cheesecake.
And you're the only one who's ever
and
had
the fries are so good.
And you're the only one who's ever had
I love Hooters.
it.
Hooters.
I don't mind
me.
Hooters either.
I really like the wings.
They have grilled wings. I know we got to go. You can follow me on Twitter at Kenny with an I Middleton. Everywhere else, I'm Kendra Middleton. Even on Blue Sky, find me.
All right, very good.
Love
Thank you,
boys.
Kendra. We'll be right back. Here are the headlines.
possibly have missed from the show. It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
All right. We're Toucher and Hardy. Brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Hardy, what do you got? What are we doing? Are we doing our thing?
Normally, we would be doing what's going to be happening in Adam 12's world this weekend. But there's so many obvious ones here with, obvious on both sides. I mean, the Dine Out Boston, it's not free. So, you still have to pay for the meals in these restaurants. So I think we all know the answer to that one. That's a big NO.
Yeah, sorry. Just bought a car. I got to back off on the food for a little while.
How much did you sell your car for?
Oh, just a few $100. But the friggin' tow company never showed up yesterday, so I got to go through that whole thing Monday. Yeah, the app is the website's great. It's called Pedal, and they will pay you cash for your junked car. But then they pair you up with a local tow truck company. And if you're Metro towing, your driver never calls, even though you called the dispatcher so many times that they finally keep sending your calls to voicemail. So
hell yeah,
F you, Metro
pulpit.
towing.
Yeah.
I got a real tow truck company coming on Monday to get my car and give me some cash, so thank you. Anyway, what else you got there, Hardy?
And then some really obvious ones. The Revolutionary Women Tour.
Oh, is that the walking
Freedom
tour of the Freedom Trail? Yeah, I used to check those out. They do one for Black History Month. They do all sorts of different walking tours. They cost a little bit of money, but, it's going to a good cause.
The St. Patrick's Day celebrations are actually getting underway early. The Irish and how they got that way. This is a Greater Boston Stage Company in Stoneham. The unforgettable theatrical concert returns after a triumphant run in 2018. So it only took them 7 years to get this thing.
Let me tell you, that's a great theater in Stoneham. I was just there a few weeks ago for a youth production of Hades Town. The Boston was it the Greater Boston Theater Company right in Stoneham,
where he proposed.
Fantastic.
Is this secondary market or?
I'm looking at StubHub.
Yeah, is this StubHub or is this?
No, if you get there early enough, you can scalp some tickets. Don't worry about it.
But really,
they're paper tickets. Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to thank an emailer who sent me in a photo. It could have been my dad's car. This came from Eco Smith. He said, you two can have a kick-ass pink Mark V for the low price of $8,250. Your dad is crazy. Yeah, he was, but this was his car. Without question, the photo that he sent, the one that he found online. Look at that, Fred. That's what Sid Poole is driving.
84 Buick Skylark.
Oh, man.
That's what my mom drove around in. And then we had a wood-paneled station wagon, but then my dad got an Audi.
What color
and he
Skylark?
drove it for 20 years. Yes?
What color Skylark did your mother drive?
I think it was a dark blue.
Okay.
Oh. My mother went purple Chevy Impala for years.
But those are cool.
Yeah, my papa drove an Impala. Those were awesome.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. That's a piece of garbage, isn't it? and then my mom got a Chrysler New Yorker.
Which was
very, very
That's
fancy.
high end.
Yes.
Yeah, my dad had a stick shift tank of an Audi, and he drove it for 20 years. And then he got a used Jeep Cherokee, which now has 170,000 miles on it. We call it the Boogermobile.
Oh, the one that he picks you up at the airport in.
Well, no, my kids won't ride in it.
I remember that. Yep.
It's like it's short as straw drives with Grandpa. It's just got his fingernails and boogers all over it. It's disgusting.
But he's tricked out. He's got the whistle tips on it.
Well, when he bought it, so it was used, and he bought it in Detroit, and it had these hot wires in the back, and he's like, "What are these wires?" And the guy goes, "They're nothing," and he put them together, and the battery exploded. He goes, "They're nothing," and he put them together, and the battery went bam. Someone had
enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, someone had this huge bass speaker in the back. All right, Adam.
All right.
I know you got to go